Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. That's right. It's his birthday today. Well, yesterday. We're celebrating it today. He's the pride of Mexico. No lady can resist the magic of his kiss, the woo of his tongue. No man can resist the might of his fist. When he starts, you'll be done, son. That's right. Here he comes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mexican IronMan. He's made from aluminum cans. Happy birthday, Mikey.
Thank you.
The only guy on the panel with his own theme song.
Wow.
Mexican Iron Andre Man.
Yes, Andre is not with us today. He might pop in here at some point, but he's out and about traveling for
He's with us in
family
spirit.
reasons. He is definitely. So happy birthday, Mikey. Hopefully your birthday yesterday was a good one.
It was, and actually, I was born close to midnight. So technically, we are still in the 24-hour cycle. Because
Got ya. So it is still technically your birthday.
Technically. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
I was about to call you out, Mike, because I said you get to be right on your birthday for 24 hours. And when Tom said it was yesterday, I was like, oh, he hoodwinked me. But no, you're still under the I'm always right window the next 24 hours.
Yeah, me and Kadish were going at it this morning on text.
That, of course, is Matthew Kadish of the Salty Nerd Podcast joining us this morning. How you doing?
Hey, guys, glad to make my triumphant return to Midnight's Edge. It's been a while.
Paulie's pregnant.
What?
Morning nauseous. He should have the keys if he wants to hop in and say happy birthday to you.
Him and Chrissy Mayer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they got into some trouble.
Yeah, but she's okay, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have Culture Casino with us. How you doing?
I'm here. You can call me Mr. Casino.
Mr. Casino? All right. He thinks whatever. Fucking pretentious bastard.
Oh, wow. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. It's a great day. I'm here. I'm really excited because Matt's here, and it's Mike's birthday, and we get to talk about some dismal Disney stuff. So I'm always happy.
Indeed, we have you here. We also have with us the one, the only Paul Chatto.
I'm wearing my
Mr. Rogers this morning.
Yeah, it's me Loch Carron Scottish.
Oh, you're Scottish, Mr.
Rogers? No, I'm Hungarian Scottish. No, it's bought this, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago while we were in Scotland.
From Fred Rogers.
It's great. Yeah, and I raped him. Yeah, that's what I did.
Is Hungarian Scottish just another
Hungarian Scottish. And right from the Loch Carron mill, which was fun, and it's just chilly down here in the basement. We've got weird weather, so this is a great warm sweater. So I got it on.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Right? Crap. It's not
crap.
Scottish, crap.
Head.
Move your head. Heath got a head like a watermelon.
It's like an
Yeah.
orange on a toothpick.
I made the mistake of going up to a storyteller and just for a laugh with my daughter behind me talking like this to her, and she said, "Oh, where are you from?" And I went, "Oh shit, she's got a Scottish accent." Oh, you know the lower Hebrides, you know, Hebrides, you know where that, you know,
Lost.
and then I just quickly grabbed everything and left.
I'm from the fjord.
Yep.
So,
That part
From
of
the
Scotland
fjord,
that
the
doesn't
fjord.
really speak Scottish particularly well. I did write a comedy screenplay where Scotland, everyone with an accent there actually is faking it for tourism only. So when someone from away comes, they put it on, but then as soon as they leave, they just speak normally. And it's the great horrific secret of Scotland is that no one really has a Scottish accent.
Thank
It's all put
God.
on. Although I saw Gregory and I had to put the subtitles on. Couldn't understand any of that Glaswegian. Anyway, hello
That's
everyone.
Irish.
Nice to see everybody.
I got something to scare everybody with. Here's your new crow.
Yeah, Fanzine dropped this on me this morning. I was
I
less
saw
than
that.
excited.
Isn't that the Norwegian guy or
This is a Skarsgård.
Skarsgård? Yeah.
is
And
it
he's
Bill
in a movie
Skarsgård?
where he's deaf. Right now,
he-
he's in.
He was also It the Clown in the
Oh,
of It.
okay.
Yeah, he's been all over the place. He was in John Wick 4. He played
Yep.
the bad guy in that. I know a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing on this image.
It looks
and,
like Jared Leto as the Joker, dude.
It's hard to compare with Brandon Lee because he made that role so iconic.
Yes.
But I feel like they're trying to be a little bit more comic book accurate.
Not really. Have you heard what the plot
I said
is?
a little bit more.
No.
Never saw the
They're a bunch of
original. Don't
junkies.
know.
They're a bunch of junkies who get killed by their drug dealers. That's nothing close to the original plot.
That is correct. Yeah.
No, that's the original plop. You got the wrong thing.
You know what though? Like James O'Barr, the original artist and writer of The Crow, he had such a traumatic experience with the death of Brandon Lee that he might have made some unreasonable demands about, like, I don't want it to, like, I want the Brandon thing to not be remade, and so they might have had to make some changes to it. I don't know. I'm just kind of speaking of what I know about the artist. So we'll see if it's any good.
All I know is that culture. I'm sorry to hear that your ballerina sucks.
Is it
we were
confirmed
talking
that it sucks?
Yeah, I think Ian McShane kind of came out and said that in so many words. He was
Well, he
dropping
also-
some bombs.
Oh yeah.
He was also really crapping on the Continental as well.
Yeah, he's like, don't
as a
watch
cash
that.
grab.
Yeah, the Continental's not very good.
Yeah.
We don't talk
But-
about the Continental.
I do find it interesting that Lynn Wiseman, who was the director of all the Underworld movies and stuff like that, so he's doing Ballerina, and they
He
had to bring in
was.
the original director for John Wick to be like, okay, there's not enough action in this action movie, so we need to reshoot it and put more in there. So,
Well, it sounds like it's a lot more than that. That was the story they were telling the press. But if you listen to Ian McShane, it's like, this thing's a mess, basically, in so many words. It sounds like, and they had to fix it. I mean, he basically said that they have to fix it.
Well, what's her name is in it from Ghost, and
Anna de Armas?
and she was horrific in Ghost. Like, I no idea why.
You mean Ghosted?
Ghosted. Yes, sorry, Ghosted.
Because Ghost is Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
No, yeah, sorry, Ghosted. The thing with Chris Evans.
She's not a good actress, but she's
She's horrific.
You know, like she was good in that James Bond movie, but only because she was hot and she didn't have a lot of dialogue.
Right. Oh, she was horrific in Ghosted. Like, no, cannot act. I'm shocked that and she's tiny. Like, you want some woman with a bit of meat on her if you're gonna put in fight scenes. Anyway.
Not in Hollywood. In Hollywood,
Yep.
It's Girl Boss Arena.
Yep, Girl Boss Arena.
Also, Lynn Wiseman, the guy who was directing before I guess he got replaced, you know, like he was really big on the girl power stuff by casting his wife Kate Blanchett in all of his movies and as like the girl boss action hero type. But like as long as they're hot, I don't mind.
I like Kate. Kate, I think, is hot. I think she's pretty sexy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very sexy.
She's in a Borderland movie.
He also did the what do you call it? The True Total Recall remake, where he had not only Kate Blanchett, but also not Kate Blanchett, Kate Beckinsale, but also I'm blanking on her name. Another super hot chick, and they got to like fight each other. Jessica Biel, that's it. Jessica Biel and Kate.
That's the one with Farrell in it.
Yeah. I'm all for hot action chicks, man.
So that's kind of the latest. But let's get caught up onto some super chats here. We got Dr. Long Donglers sending in £1.99, and he sends in a thumbs up, I imagine. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. It always helps us here at the channel. Me and my monkey are here, and they are a new member. Well, thank you for that. Grimzilla is in the house. He says, can we just take a moment to appreciate Legendary Pictures giving the customers what they want with Dune and Monsterverse? How do they get it and no one else does? Well, it's a good question. Who here has seen Dune besides Mikey, myself, and Culture? Did you get to see it yet, Matt?
There you go.
Oh, I know you haven't.
I'm seeing it on Sunday because I don't have the advantage of getting pre-screeners or
Friday. Seeing it Friday
or anything.
It was a fan event, dude. You could have went.
That's my dog, I think, wanting.
Okay, Paul.
Well,
he's Paul Moadib.
You know, I run a business and I have a family, so fan events aren't always on the table for me to go.
Neither am I. So there you go. I still found the time, and I even coerced Culture into going.
Hey,
the hardest thing about getting Tom to the movies is getting him to not live stream 43 hours in a day.
And getting him to the movies.
Don't fan event shame me, Tom. Okay.
I just did.
Shame Mr. Kadish, by the way, and it's Mr. Kadish.
Mr. Get it right.
What is this with y'all making me be all Mr. and all that crap?
Oh, you missed that live stream. Matt let me run the show with Vader on Saturday one time, and everybody was getting out of control. And I said, if Mr. Kadish were here, he would not be allowing this anarchy to take place. So I had to assert myself, which I don't normally like to do on a live stream.
Yes,
and then Matt showed up in the live chat. I'm like, see, we're busted. Mr. Kadish is in the live show.
That was a great show, Mikey. It really was. We were missing Mr. Kadish on that show.
Yes.
So you guys should have been doing. You should have been doing your jobs that day.
I tried.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Dune is poised to do very well this weekend, looking at 80 roughly domestically, and
I think it's going to be more.
Well, I think so.
I'm looking forward to seeing the ending of a movie I saw 3 years ago. So,
well, that's where the deviations come in,
and it's not the ending.
Well, the ending of the movie that I saw 3 years ago.
Yes,
I know that they have plans for other movies in the series.
But Matt, I will disappoint you by saying it's a cliffhanger.
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Cliffhanger until we get to Dune Messiah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The spice must flow. Anyway, Grimzilla's right though. Monsterverse and Dune, they're looking good right now. One of the few franchises that are, especially Monsterverse, since they've shifted into more kid friendly.
Did any of you guys get the popcorn bucket?
Yes.
Don't know what you're talking about.
You know, the fleshlight.
Yes, I did. I'm going to give it away.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I want to do for my review, and I don't know how to do it because I'm not good at special effects, using the computer or doing any of that kind of stuff. I want to do the scene with the ganja bar where it's like, put your hand in the box. What's in the box? Pain. That whole thing.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it'll be me put my hand in the bucket.
Okay.
I can't even get my fat ass hand in this bucket.
You'll have to
She still wore out.
What you want. You have to explain what you want it to look like, and I'll do it for you.
Like the movie.
It looks like one of those like weird traps from Saw.
Haven't you seen the movie where she makes him put his hand in the box?
Yes. Yeah. Of course I've seen that movie, but I'm just saying it looks like one of those things from Saw where you put your hand in and you have to like cut it off in order to like get
Put
it out.
your hand in the box, or however it goes. I don't know. I didn't watch Saw. Anyway, Stone Racket sends us in a little kitty for $1.49. Thank you for that. And then Paulie, who has the keys if he wants to hop in, sends in $1.99. Says Feliz Caprianos, hermanito. Did I say
Thank
it
you,
right?
my great brother.
How bad did I fuck it up?
No, you did good actually.
Gladiators versus Hollywood sends in 35 South African rands and says, I'm a lover of Clone Wars as one of the best shows ever made. The only way to save Star Wars is to purge it. Only the 6 films are canon. Let's move from there.
There you go.
To me, there's only 3 movies, but
Yeah, there's only
yeah.
3.
And then
I don't
after
think that's
watching
fair.
Dune 2, I'm like, now this is the prequels we should have got. So yeah. Anybody else agree, disagree? I never got into Clone Wars because I sat through that stupid movie in the theater and I'm like, oh man, this is ridiculous. I literally
saw them.
paid to watch a pilot episode.
You
Well-
know, I tried watching the first season a long time ago, and I know that it has evolved since the first season, but I just couldn't get into it.
I got the Blu-rays, just never got around to it. Because then somebody told me, oh, they're all in the wrong order. Like, what do you mean? Like, you should watch them in this order, and they give me this long ass list, and I'm like, well,
Now,
fuck that.
The original Tartakovsky shorts for the Clone Wars are awesome.
Those
Really
I've seen
like
a million times, and I used to have the posters for those too. I don't know if they survived the move though, but yeah.
You know, this is the last season of Bad Batch, right?
Thank God.
Yeah.
Not that I watched any of it, but yeah, no. At this point, I think Star Wars is dead.
One more season of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, they keep threatening us.
I'm-
I had
I'm-
to talk about STD on the podcast.
Actually gave the rundown update of what was going on behind the scenes of Star Trek on our member stream because nobody gives a crap enough for us to make videos about it.
Nobody cares about Star Trek anymore. They've killed
I
it.
got
am going to
tons
do
of
a-
info.
I am going to do one on Discovery just for fun.
I swear
for
they've
the-
gotten to the point where, like, because before it was rumored that like Doomcock and ourselves and a few others were like, you know, hated among the halls of Star Trek. Now it almost feels like I've got people coming at me just trying to shove information just so we get out there and talk about it now. I swear, I'm not even kidding, because I get fed Star Trek stuff on the daily almost at this point. I can tell you that the movie's coming, who's going to be in it, what's going on next after that, you know, like all
Nobody
kinds
cares.
of stuff.
Nobody cares.
Nobody
Hey, Tom,
gives a shit.
Tom, do you remember like back when STD season 1 came out, and I did a live stream where I basically said like this thing's going to last 5 seasons because that's when the
Yeah,
Netflix money
That's
runs
what
out.
the Netflix show said. Yeah,
Yeah, like we called it 5 years ago. So,
they did
Well, they
try
put
getting
the
out of
first
it.
show
though,
out
but
on
yeah.
CBS to the public, and no one cared. Remember that?
Yes.
They broadcast that on CBS.
Yeah.
Disney did the same thing with Echo, where they released it all at once on multiple channels, and nobody cared.
I'm actually going to watch the first STD because I don't know. I have to torture myself.
Chlamydia is the best one. Then syphilis, I would
Oh
avoid.
God, I knew that was coming.
But speaking of people we have in the background here for Mikey,
Oh.
because it is his birthday. I don't know how long this gentleman has, so I want to get him in here as soon as possible. I don't mean to disrupt the flow. The man I want to be when I grow up, Mr. Chris Gore.
Hey, I'm here for one reason. We all know.
Boobs?
Yeah, I'm here for one reason. We all know birthdays are stupid. And I think birthdays, look, they're lame. It's whatever, but it's Mexican Iron Man's birthday. So I have to pop on, say happy birthday, Mike. Thank you, man. If I was there, I'd buy you a beer. I'll buy you a birthday beer next time I see you. And that's all I have to say about that. So long, gay boys.
Bye.
Well, thank you, Mr. Frank Gump.
I wanted to mention his
He's
starring
pieced
role
out.
in that animation. He was so good. He looked like an onion head.
Which
I don't know if you guys-
animation?
there's an animation, a comic book store that features a bunch of guys from FNT. And
Oh, no, I didn't see
they
it.
just grabbed the audio very much like Aardman doing that.
'Cause that means I missed out
animation
on it.
Creature Comfort. They kind of did a Creature Comfort thing on FNT, and an animator, brilliant animator, did this hilarious thing. I'll try to grab the link, and then it's got a whole bunch of the FNT people in it just chatting, and he animated it. It's just hilarious. It's called Comic Book Store, I think.
Excellent. And then we've got, let's see here. We've got
Thanks again, Chris.
Yes, Chris, thanks for hopping by. And he had a quick moment to stop in. We may have some more pop-in guests, so stick around for that.
Yeah, that's how important you are, Mikey.
Exactly. Hyperguyver 2 sends in $2. Says Savage Sword #1 drops today, featuring Solomon Kane. I'm sure Andre would have loved to have discussed that. Maybe we'll hang on to that one for later in case he pops in here. Then Gladiator versus Hollywood sends in another 14 South African rands and says, if Mando flops, how likely does the purge become?
Is there any truth to the rumor that Pedro isn't coming in for the movie?
Nah, I haven't heard that. But Paulie might know something about that because he loves Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he loves him. Loves him.
Hey, what's happening, everyone? Feliz cumpleaños, mi hermanito Mike. We're here. We were just thinking about you. And you ready to? No. Okay, she doesn't want to come on camera, but she was just. Romy was just thinking about you. How was your birthday, brother?
Thanks for making it even better. I love you both.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you. Love you both.
Yes, thank you for being here, guys. We appreciate it.
Just gotta hop on and hop off. God
Bye.
bless. God bless to everyone on this panel except for Culture Casino.
No.
We'll see you guys later.
I love you, Paulie. Say hi to Romy.
We love you too, Paulie.
Long live Pedro Pascal. Órale, cabrones.
Oh my God.
So what's the rumor with Pedro? He's not in a movie? Actually, not in one?
He doesn't have
news.
They're making the Mandalorian movie. And
Right.
The rumor right now is that Pedro Pascal, because of other obligations, isn't going to be available for it. And so they're going to have to either clone his voice or find someone who can do an impression of him. And he's not going to be taking his helmet off. But from what I'm hearing, the focus of the movie is going to be on Katie Sackhoff's character.
Of course.
So that's what I'm hearing.
The Mandalorian with the uni boob.
The boob armor. We need to bring back the boob armor.
Well, but it's not even the good boob armor. It's not the Barbarella boob armor. It's the uni boob armor.
That's true.
Yeah, I like her.
I
like her as an actress, but I mean, enough with this replacement theory bullshit. Like, enough.
Mm-hmm.
The first season, I think, was just a surprise to everybody at Lucasfilm. Wait a second, this is successful. We got to kill it.
Well,
as
I said, it was successful until Kathleen Kennedy got brought back.
No, right, exactly. I mean, it was essentially the Rifleman meets David Carradine's Kung Fu. That's what it was.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear Gina talk about today about how Jon Favreau had all these plans and basically Kathleen Kennedy just destroyed them.
It is because that's the main topic of the day. We might as well get there because Andre should be here shortly anyhow. So let's do a few more of these super chats for Mikey, and then we'll get into that. We got Chaos Sonic who says, "Happy birthday, Mike. Hope the rabbit chickens are not extinct, as they are a delicacy for our gators."
Thank you, Chaos, and I assure you that there is, with spring on the way, we expect those little to start popping out little rabbit chicken babies, and time for a good summer eating and grilling. Yep.
And Mikey's got gators where he is because I saw him.
Oh, the gators are going to start coming out in about a month. Yeah,
I saw him. I was down there. In fact, I was in the same room where that Mikey's in right now.
With a gator?
With a gator.
Wait, what? No.
Gator.
See you later, Gator.
See you later, Gator. And then Keith J says that he didn't know that you shared a birthday with him.
Oh, awesome.
Birthday,
Hey, bro.
And happy birthday, Keith.
That means me and Keith are both Pisces.
Yeah.
Oh,
is that the Keith that I know from?
So we all know that most of us have some famous person that we know is on the same birthday. So, Mikey, what famous person do you know that has the same birthday as you?
I have no idea.
Really?
I mean,
almost all of us have. Matt, do you have someone you know?
So he doesn't share the exact same birthday. He's like a couple hours ahead of me, but Keanu Reeves.
Nice.
Yeah.
You had to stretch to get that, didn't you?
Good old Virgos. Not really. I mean, like he's September 2nd. I'm September 3rd. And,
That's what I mean.
So,
You like had to find out when was he born just so I can be cool.
I've known it for a while now. So. And I'm
Mine
already
is,
cool, Tom. God damn it.
Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, same day as me. And how about you, Culture?
Well, I mean, quite a bit older than me, but I would say
No.
Joni Mitchell would be one of them.
Whoa, nice pick. Pretty good. Tom, what's your most famous person on the same day as you?
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Oh, really?
Happy birthday
Nice.
to you. And Andy Griffith.
You don't have her legs.
No, I don't. Or Andy's.
Mm.
What?
Yep.
Then we've got a Stone Racket sending us in a little Shiba dog. Thank you for that, Stone Racket, and the $5 super chat. And then Adam sends in, what was the HUF? I'm trying to remember now. I think that's the Hungarian one.
Hungarian francs, I think.
Yeah.
Forint.
Florence?
Yeah, that's it. Happy birthday to one of the most entertaining persons on YouTube who actually knows what he is talking about. Hey,
it's not my birthday, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. You rock. Hashtag Team Mexican Iron Man. Adam is my new Chief Information Officer of Mexican Iron Man Global Holdings.
Oh, well, he thinks you're a YouTuber.
Wait, what? Hold on. Where did that say that?
He just says it's on YouTube.
No, on YouTube. He is not calling me a YouTuber.
And Adam, köszönöm szépen. Nagyon szívesen.
Stop swearing, Adam.
Well,
I didn't say anything swearing.
We want to keep our audience.
It sounded bad.
Now, Morgan calls Mike a YouTuber.
Yes, Morgan says, happy birthday, Mike. The greatest YouTuber. Go get those ladies. Keep up the great work and laughs. Also, get Mexican Iron Man to 40K. Let's do that.
Morgan, thank you for the birthday wishes. You will be enrolled automatically in YouTuber education to correct your misunderstandings. And yeah, thank you.
You will be put through a struggle session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of struggle sessions, we have WDW Pro here sending in 1999.
Nice. Whoa.
And he has the link if he's able to make it, of course. But I'm assuming since he sent in a super chat, that's a sign that he's busy.
He's only sending money because he got remonetized.
That's right.
If he was demonetized and he sent the money, then it would have been worth something.
That's right. A belated happy birthday to Mike, and a huge thank you to everyone on this panel. Big Bob Iger news coming out later today, by the way. Oh, well, you can't tease us and not come on and tell us
he's
what it
teasing
is.
me.
Gosh, darn it.
Tease. What a prick tease. You see,
Thank
he
you,
used
bro.
it for
Thank
cheap
you.
advertising.
Yeah, he
used
just
you.
used our show. Used our show for his cheap advertising.
It's a plug. That's called
It
plugging.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he used Mikey's birthday.
It's okay. Mexican Iron Man is okay by being used by Pro. It's okay.
I plug myself all the time.
No?
I feel like a day without Big Bob Iger news is more noteworthy.
Yeah, it's true.
It's always coming out.
You plug yourself. It's not Pride Month.
I already said I'm probably going to get more use out of the Bob song than I am the Grace Randolph song, probably. Wouldn't you guys think? Well, what kind of dumb shit did Bob say this week? It needs work again.
Bob's been kind of out of the news for a few days.
No.
No?
I do that. He finds his way into the news. It finds his way into the news cycle almost every day now.
Almost every day. I've kind of been concentrating on my stupid news shows.
I think you are great at abysmal news.
Hashtag dang it, Bob.
It's fun to do. I got some great ones coming up. If I can finish this show today, I'll have another appalling episode of Appalling News.
That's his way of telling us to hurry the fuck up.
No.
ActionCom says has been here for 6 months. Thank you, ActionCom, for being a member and all your help. Ken Riegard sends in 2 and says, happy birthday to the best not YouTuber ever.
Thank you,
And
Ken.
then-
See that right there. Ken understands what the reality is. Ken, congratulations. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your wise acumen.
And then we got Emmanuel Mendoza who says with $2, happy birthday, Mexican Iron Foo.
Why? Thank you. What's
What the
up?
hell's
I am a fool.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Oh, I am a fool. What's up?
You're a fool.
Yeah, I practice Mexican kung fu. What's up?
Uh-huh. Carlos Alfredo Lopez has been here for 6 months and says, Hell Midnight's Edge panel in chat. Hope Mike had a great birthday celebration. Keep up the great work.
That's my boy Carlos. What's up, Carlos? Thank you.
We got Kathleen Morrison who's here for $5 and says, happy birthday, Mexican Iron Man. May the great rabbit chicken of the universe bless you. You rock.
You rock, Kathleen. Thank you. That's my girl.
Yeah, so let's see. We got a couple more here for Mikey, and then we'll get into the Gina news. Packing Protons, who's been here for a month, says, happy Elf Day to Mexican Iron Man. You're out of this world, Mikey. I think they share the same birthday. Well, Elf's much older than him, but
that would be a disaster if somehow that would be an absolute disaster if me and Alf actually. Oh God, please.
And then
don't tell me that show debuted on February 27th.
No, it was 86, late 86. Kareen sends in $4.99. We'll find out whenever Paul does his TV guide video.
Oh yeah, when is Paul doing that? It's been like months.
It is. It has literally been months.
I said that.
He owes me. Kareen sends in a $4.99 super chat. Hey, Kareen. Says, happy birthday, Mikey. There you go. See? You are loved. Thanks for always bringing joy to this channel. Yes, he does indeed. He is a bright spot on the internet. And then one more, and then we'll put a pin in the super chats for now and get to the Gina news. Joel Reese. Bleh. That's how you say it, right? Joel Reese says, happy birthday to Hombre Hero. How do you say that, Mikey?
Hierro? The Hierro. That means Iron Man.
Hierro?
Yeah.
Mexicano.
Like the H is the HIE is like a Y. Hierro.
I'll forget that. And don't forget what your answer should be when people say you're a YouTuber. No digas tonterías.
Yeah, don't be spreading any like lies and BS, people.
Oh, don't be giving him ideas, Joel. Yeah. And then we got Pilgrim Media, who also says happy birthday, Mikey. And Chaos Sonic, who says, Mike, would you turn into Cayman Rider just to destroy Elf? Of course he would.
Hell yeah. F Elf. All right. We only got Katie for about another 30 minutes. So
yes. So let's get into this Gina.
I can probably stay a little bit longer.
Because this is your favorite dude you were telling us before the show.
Yeah, I came in hot before the show started, man.
Well, let me say some background. So Patrick Bet David is a popular YouTube host and personality. He's got 1.75 million subs. This morning's show was at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. It featured Gina Carano in one of her in her first live camera on in-person interview on any media platform since filing the Disney lawsuit. And that is the topic of the day. I watched it. I know Kadish watched it. Has anyone else on the panel seen the whole thing?
Nope.
No, this is fresh for me. So I know that this is scattered throughout the 2-hour interview, right?
Well, I'll turn things over to Kadish. Kadish, why don't you give an overview of what your analysis is of what you saw this morning and what you heard, and then I'll chime in after that.
All right, real quick, I want to give a bit of a primer to this. So Patrick Bet David, he is someone from outside the entertainment sphere. He made a bunch of money in multi-level marketing and insurance and stuff like that. And then he took that money and basically started a vanity project called a media company, where he surrounds himself with people who are very stupid so that he can look smarter than he really is, and basically goes off on complete tangents and never lets anyone talk. And for some reason, his podcast is popular because he kind of positions it as a personal brand where it blends business and entertainment together. So business news, and he's kind of a right-leaning guy. So like a lot of his economic takes and political takes are kind of palatable to like a very hardcore audience. But he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's been on a bunch of people's YouTube channels and stuff like that. So he's built up a following by pretending to be an influencer / kingmaker / self-made millionaire, like whatever. I can't stand this guy.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why. Because he's a terrible host for a podcast, and he's a terrible interviewer, and he makes everything about himself. And he's only interesting the first couple of times you watch him. And then after you've watched a couple of his stuff, it's just like, Pat, please, for the love of God, let other people talk and not your idiot panel. Like let the guests that you have on talk. So I tend to watch his clips just because like sometimes like he talks about subjects that are kind of interesting, but every single time I get roped into that, it's basically they mention the topic for like 2 seconds and then they go off on these weird tangents that Patrick Bet-David just loves to go off on. But today, so I didn't even know that Gina was going to be on here until Mexican IronMan texted me. He's like, hey, you should check this out. And so I watched it and I felt so bad for Gina as I was watching. I watched about half of it. It was only about as much as I could stand. So Gina's on there and she keeps trying, like Patrick Bet-David keeps asking her questions about, what led up to the firing, like, what do you think about Kathleen Kennedy, all this other stuff. And every time Gina started like kind of getting into what actually happened, like her side of the story, Patrick Bet-David would do what he always does, which basically he would cut her off. And something that she had said previously would like trigger like an idea in him. And he's one of these guys who he doesn't listen to the guest that he's asking questions about. He like you could actually see him typing on his little iPad there, trying to look up stuff to talk about this topic that he wanted to go off on. And so there was one point where she was starting to get to her struggle session where basically, the campaign that Disney went on to basically cancel her after she did that famous tweet. And instead of letting her finish and following down that path and learning about what actually happened, Patrick Bet-David basically starts talking about Disney stock and just going off on this very strange tangent as he normally does. And every time like he'd ask Gina a question, you could tell that she was very uncomfortable. And then like as soon as he'd cut her off, like she'd be like, oh, I wasn't finished. And it was just a very awkward interview. And Patrick Bet-David, he's like this with most of his guests. Like some guests are more talkative than others, and you could tell Gina was very shy. And so like he was just kind of steamrolling over her instead of letting her speak. Because normally when you have a guest on, you want to let the guests talk because they're the star of the show, essentially. But I was texting with Mike because we produce our own live streams and in my case, podcasts and stuff like that. And Patrick Bet-David is just so infuriating because he's a terrible, terrible host and producer of entertainment on YouTube. And yet he has the money behind him to basically succeed despite his lack of talent. And I was so frustrated every time like Gina started kind of going down a path where it was like, oh, this is interesting. This is stuff I haven't heard before, yada, yada, yada. And then he would just like interrupt, cut her off, go in a completely different direction instead of following that path that she was going down. So I felt really bad for her. And I only watched about half of this interview because that was as much as I could stomach. It was just bad. Terrible, terrible interview. Nothing to do against Gina. Nothing to do against Gina. Like she was good on it. But you could just tell how horribly uncomfortable she was the entire time she was there.
Well, let's see what happens here. I don't know any exact spots we should really jump to other than the first one's around 9 minutes, I think Mikey said. So let's see what she had to say.
And I was like, I wanted, from my heart, I wanted everybody to be okay. And I didn't want them to be fearful, and I wanted us to all. But then I started watching more of what was happening from a different perspective, and my perspective grew. And then I took the black square out because I was like, oh. And then I was like, and not because I don't think that things are like not messed up or wrong. It's just because, trendy stuff is just, it's not where I want to be.
So the black square you do.
I did and took it off. And the black square was basically like, every time anything happens in the world, I only want to tell them like, I want to tell people, take a breath, take a moment. There's going to be a lot of emotional reactions.
So what's this thing about a black square?
So during the George Floyd stuff, everyone was putting a black square
Gotcha.
on their profile pictures on social media to support.
So this is kind of where it started. Okay, gotcha.
Well. So Gina talks about how like she was not political, she didn't really pay any attention, and she did this black square thing just because everyone else was doing it. She didn't really understand it, but she was like, I want to support, Black Lives Matter and stuff like this. And then once she started actually paying attention, and she realized, what was actually going on, she took it off her profile. One thing I want to point out that I forgot to mention in my rant against PBD. So later on in this interview, he starts asking her about Kathleen Kennedy. And you can tell that PBD and none of his panel did any like show prep or research before like she came on, because he goes to Kathleen Kennedy's IMDb page. He's like, oh my God, look at all these amazing movies she's worked on. Like she has like a great track record. She's a genius. You know, like he just starts singing Kathleen Kennedy's praises directly to the face of the woman who she destroyed, essentially. And it was so tone deaf and it was so stupid. And you could tell that he hasn't paid any attention to the Star Wars landscape or the fandom or like any of this stuff. It was so cringy. Like I had to turn it off at that point, because I was like, this dude is so frustrating. Like he knows nothing about what he's talking about. Mike, can you back me up on that?
You're 100% correct with your criticisms of the podcast. I agree with you 100%. I actually know a lot about Patrick Bet David. I know a lot about his insurance company, his insurance industry. I still have more than a half dozen clients in that industry space. All that being said, I agree with your analysis, in particular about the lack of productivity. I'm sorry, the lack of production preparation that went into the actual productivity of this conversation that should have been had. That being said, I was able to, and from where I sit, mine some gold nuggets out. I was able to mine some gold nuggets out of the interview. And there were a few things that stood out to me that were fascinating. Number one is the fact that she did this at all. The fact that she did this at all is completely tells you how serious they're taking this case. Number two observation was that she told the detailed story of how this case came to get filed, and she feels as a litigant incredibly confident that this case is going to move forward. I think we're going to show a clip of you. Those of you in the audience, we're going to show some of this clip right now. Let me just make a few more points, and then we'll go straight to the clip. The third point I wanted to make is that she disclosed that in her conversations with Kathleen Kennedy in her meetings, the sum total of that was 20 minutes. Her relationship with Kathleen Kennedy was sour from the first get-go. When she very first met her, she was Kathleen Kennedy was standoffish, didn't even shake her hand, and Gina Carano made a point of noting that Kathleen Kennedy didn't even shake her hand, whereas everybody else was nice and gracious. And then the fifth point I'll make is that she bent over backwards talking about how her co-stars were incredibly supportive, and in particularly called out Jon Favreau over and over again in the interview. So with that being said, I think we can go to some of the clip of the tape.
Can I just hop in real quick before you get to the clip? One of the very interesting things that she revealed was just how supportive Jon Favreau was of her career. Like he called her up and gave her the news that he had just finished the pilot script for a Star Wars TV show centered around her character. And he was like, this is good news. I know you're going through some stuff, but I'm making a show based around you. And this is going to launch your career. This is going to be very positive. And she was so excited and grateful. And then the forces at LucasFilm turned against her. And she was like, it was bad for me, but I felt really bad for Jon Favreau, because Jon Favreau put on all this time and effort and work to get this thing going. And he made my character so important. And then it just, all got washed away. And then in response to that, Patrick Bet David started talking about how one time he played poker with Jon Favreau, and then went off on a tangent about how much fun he had playing poker with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. So
yeah, I just want to chime in. I agree.
Good morning, Andre.
Yeah, good morning. I didn't want to interrupt the flow there, but good morning and happy birthday, Mike. And let the rabbit chickens roam and the hamsters run free. And to get on track with this conversation, yeah, I agree. That was Patrick Bet David dropping the ball, because what he should have said instantly right there after Gina Carano revealed that conversation, because now we know, because everyone has been saying before that, but she wasn't fired. The contract was expired. Well, here she now has an oral agreement that Jon Favreau has written a script. He has written a series for her, and he sounds like this thing is happening. That's an oral contract, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we need to get into this because the audience is getting restless. So
yeah. So let's do it.
Because we even got a super chat saying so. Yeah. Wherever it went here, it disappeared. But Yeah. Let's get rolling here.
And if we take a breath and really kind of like hear what actually transpired, let's get there. But it's really hard for.
I think that's important for the audience, because it's not like you're a staunch conservative, Republican, libertarian. There's no way I'm doing this. You've always been like this, and you're not going to put the black square. No, you're actually like, no, this is noble.
Like,
this
get
is
your
not,
brows out, put it on your face.
That's right. So you're doing this, and then at what point are you like, no, this is ridiculous?
It was really when the protest started happening, and I realized, wait a second. I come from, a family that started, both my grandfathers started their businesses from scratch. And so you're shutting down all of these mom and pop and smaller restaurants, and, you're keeping up in Walmart, and it's just like, I started really feeling for, those people that were getting destroyed during that time. And it was the hypocrisy that I had the biggest problem with. Like, if you can go to a protest, then you can go to church, which church for a lot of people is where, you can calm yourself, or walks on the beach. And living in California, they were destroying the volleyballs, the volleyball, like they were chasing people on the beach who were going for a walk, who were around no one. And so that pissed me off. Like it did a lot of people.
Again, nothing to do with you watching a Joe Rogan podcast or the news or reading an article. This is all you individually. You're like, this shit doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Okay. So then public, what's the first public outlet where you gave a message where people in Hollywood are like, wait a minute, what's this all about? What did you say that pissed some people off?
There's a number of things that piss people off. I think I told people to open up their businesses. If, you can write on the streets, you can open up your business. That's
common sense.
Right. I told people, gosh, I think the first real massive problem that I really, really ran into was it sounds so silly right now to say, the beep, bop, boop.
Yeah, the trans thing.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to explain this later on in life, if, to family or to my nieces, and be like, what happened there? I'm like, well, I beep, bopped, and boop a little too hard, apparently.
Yeah.
So I put the beep, bop, boop in my profile, just only to show that you can, to expose the bullying that was happening online that, we see so well now, but, 3 years ago,
Which one prompted Disney or executives or your agent or managers from Hollywood, bless you, to call you and say, hey, Gina, you can't do that. We're about to get you a big job. You cannot post this. Please take this off.
They never said they said, they never said that. They said, we need to educate you about the beep, bop. And
who's they?
The publicists and the publicists who are answering to the higher ups.
And these publicists that you're paying or somebody?
Okay, that's important, because this is what I said a long time ago. I said, of all the things that got her fired, I know it's the beep, bop, boop. It's not the post that she made.
Yep.
Because the trans people in the company freaked the fuck out. That's why.
The else is paying.
Well, actually both. And that's a very good question. Publicists, the way that Hollywood works and the way it's been happening is like, I can hire a publicist for $4,000 to $6,000 a month, right? And they could be working for me. But some of them are answering to
That's why I asked
Disney,
the question, yeah.
right? And so Disney's got their own publicist. And so you've got the agents, you've got the managers, you've got the publicists, and everybody's like so excited about these bigger companies that they're not really taking care of the individual. And then you've got the media, and everybody's got their own journalists that they call to put out information. And it's like, it's a mafia, and a person does not stand a chance when they're not going along with the narrative.
So the publicist calls you both, and then
So
who else, like from high up brass? Did anybody from high?
That's what we call the entertainment media complex.
This is not going to work out. Let us educate you on what's the right approach, or no?
No, actually, I offered that. I said, if Kathleen Kennedy would like to get on the phone with me, I have no problem with that. Let's talk about this. I've met her a couple of times, and obviously this is coming from that direction. Please, I'd love to talk woman to woman about, anybody who I talk to. I was trying to be very agreeable. At the same time, I'm dealing with, when you get canceled, I don't know. It is the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I've ever been through, especially because I was so naive of what was happening. Now it's a lot different. Now I would have handled it differently, and I would have been a lot calmer, but like, I got so stressed to the point of like my skin hurting. And I was just like, you don't want to be disappointing people. You don't want to be disappointing the best job you've ever had. But at the same time, when you feel like your line is here and people are intruding over into your this protective space that would make it feel like you're betraying yourself, then you just got to hold that line. So
is it true that Kathleen Kennedy is the reputation I hear about her, super sweet, very reasonable, understanding, fun to be around?
This part killed me.
Who told him this shit?
It shows you how it wasn't a joke. It wasn't a joke.
Go, let it play.
He's like, why are you laughing?
Why are you guys laughing?
Well,
She's got the language.
Because I just saw the photo that Rob got up there. She doesn't look like that person.
She's got the language of a
That
Mormon
was
mother.
totally a joke.
Not
Is
to
that what
him.
you're
No, I
experiencing?
think Matt's right. I think he's serious because he's like, why are you guys laughing?
I think
Yeah,
I think Gina made a mistake when she said she wanted to talk face to face with Kathleen. She invited her to this place called the Octagon. That might have that was maybe not the right place to go. Maybe, I don't know.
This is a primary example of how little show prep PBD did for this interview, because
I don't know.
Has been with her, or how?
I mean, I'll
Like-
disagree
like-
on the talking parties. Let her
wait,
talk, but
pretty
that's
much
part
when
come
it-
off stupid.
Well, no,
wait
he gets
until you get to her, when they call up her IMDb. Okay.
right.
Like,
It gets we're not going to go that far into this, Matt, because that gets bad. Just every time he starts talking, you might as well just fast forward till she talks again, Tom. Just
My experience with Kathleen Kennedy, and by the way, she has had a phenomenal history of work
Sure.
that I respect as a woman to woman. You know, you'll see her name pop up on some of these movies, and it's like, wow, that is quite incredible, actually. And so I don't know her entire story. I don't know what made her have this wall of defense that she's had. Maybe she'll tell us all that story someday. But yeah, it was very cold, but trying. So Jon Favreau, who is the complete opposite, is just this bear of a man who is just the most lovable person. And he would, I get shyer, and so he would be like standing there between me and Kathleen Kennedy, and try to initiate the conversations. And it wasn't ever bad on set. It wasn't ever anything like that. I had no problems on set. It was beautiful on set. And if a woman's like that, it's fine. There's plenty of women that are like that. You don't have to be the executive of a company and be a nice person. But it was the problems that came afterwards and that energy that happened.
So what was that experience like? So on set, you worked on set with her and Favreau.
She was there very rarely. Like
Very rarely.
I think I saw her maybe 2 or 3 times.
And your interaction with her when you spoke, how many, if we were to say, this is how many minutes I've spoken to Kathleen Kennedy, what would you say the total time is?
I'd say like 20 minutes.
Okay. And the 20 minutes was it more like, hey, how you doing? How are things? Or is it more like, don't do this? This has changed this. What was it 20 minutes like?
It was like 2 magnets.
Oh, really? And was it obvious?
I mean, to me, it felt odd, but I'm sensitive to energy, so like I was like, trying to be my normal self. And, she does have walls up. And so it's like, okay, I don't know why those walls are there, but it was just like that. And, that's what it is.
From the beginning, Gina, or was it after she started realizing like you were awake, not woke? You know what I mean? Like, or was it from the beginning? You just had that energy. Gotcha.
It was from the beginning. I remember we went to the Star Wars celebration, and we were all up on stage, and we go through, everybody go through, they get announced and they go through and they shake everybody else's hand. And Kathleen Kennedy, I think, was like towards the end, and she shook everybody else's hand, and I go to shake her hand, and she didn't shake my hand.
Get out of here.
And I was like,
okay.
All right, what is that?
Accidentally, like she didn't see it, or
no,
intentionally?
she just looked at me.
You think she's threatened? Maybe she's threatened by you.
I have no idea. I just realized like that's that energy. That's what that's like.
Wow.
Is this pre-March 5th when she was like that, or
that was the first introduction into Star Wars? Like that was my first. I'm all excited, and I'm like, happy to be up on stage, and then I was like, okay.
Now let me ask you, when
nothing has happened yet. There hasn't been an interchange. She just kind of a power move.
That's what she said. Yes.
Yeah,
So when you're meeting her, and like are people saying things like, hey Gina, few things you need to know when you work here. That person is this person is this, that person is this. Like, how you go into a sports team, like Brett Favre used to play for the Green Bay Packers, and the quarterback coach was it Mariucci? Tom Mariucci was a QB coach, or I think it was Mariucci.
Mariucci started QB coach in the whole West Coast system.
No one cares.
Sherman, who was the coach? Not
Holmgren. Mike
Yeah.
no one
Holmgren.
cares about hip hop.
No one cares.
Yeah, see,
But
this
there's
is an
something
example of
really
a weird-
important.
I
here.
do. I'm from Wisconsin. God damn it!
Yeah, but there was something really, really important here. This is actually a really big revelation, because what do we know of the women that dominate Star Wars on screen? They're all Kathleen Kennedy self-inserts to one extent or another. I mean, everyone from that chick in Rogue One to especially Wonder Ray, they're all the idealized version of Kathleen Kennedy. Brunette, blonde, and British, because that's probably how she sees herself. Posh, upper-class British. I think part of this, why she was like so hesitant to Carano in the first place, is that she sees right away This is someone I didn't bring in. I did not choose this person. I cannot control this person. I do not know where I have this person. This is someone who's a genuine, strong, independent woman, and I only want strong, independent women who will bow down to me. I think that was Kathleen Kennedy's rationalization for why she didn't like Carano in the first place. But to me, that is kind of like striking. But here you have this real strong hostility from the head of the company against a new employee right off the bat. Mike, what say you?
I think that's 100% on point. That's what I took out of it, and it's not the first time I've seen this. One of the things that I used to see this all the time when I was in Hollywood is that when people bring their own people in, they're almost escorted in, that type of thing. And when someone comes in that's from somewhere else that's not in your line, you tend to be standoffish, and I think that reeks of the absolute feverish control that someone like KK wants to exert, the complete total insecurity, and the overall lack of management skills and grace that someone in that position should have in order to make what was once great Lucasfilm actually be successful under a Disney banner.
Indeed.
Yeah,
So should I jump ahead here at all, or should we just keep
basically
going here?
whenever she's not talking, skip ahead?
Yeah.
And
Anyone else want to chime in?
Homeroom would always have issues.
What?
Anyone else want to chime in on just that revelation before we move on, that Kathleen Kennedy was so standoffish in the first place?
I'm not surprised. Although everybody in the chat thinks that this guy's sarcastic. I don't know if he is, but okay. Yeah, I mean...
No, he's more clueless than he is sarcastic.
But Mariucci was like in between the buffers. Like, I got you. Don't worry. You and I will work together. And coach just wants, for you to perform better. Did anybody like kind of, prepare you for what to expect with these strong media personalities?
No. And I think that Star Wars being one of the biggest fan bases and also one of the most controversial kind of toxic fan bases, there's got two different sides, which I have my theory on that. I feel like when you go into that kind of job, there needs to be immediate media training, immediate understanding of the environment, and to really just kind of like prepare people for that. Because, but I think that will eventually get there. It just wasn't there at that time.
Got it. Okay. So Kathleen Kennedy, first experience isn't that good. John is, I played poker with John one night. Jon Favreau, Vince Vaughn, and the guy from Christmas Story, redheaded guy who becomes a producer.
Yeah, he's
later,
boys
Peter
with
something.
Vince
I don't know what his name is.
He's boys with
Oh my God,
Peter
John
Billingsley,
was
Jesus
funny.
Christ.
He's so wonderful.
He is so amazingly.
He is my favorite person in
Brilliant.
Hollywood to have ever worked with.
Why is that? Why is that?
He cares, and he's able to reach everybody in the room. He'll come before a scene and he'll just let everybody know exactly. He'll somehow make everybody in that room feel like they have a diamond that they're holding.
Good for him.
And he is just this beautiful, big-hearted man who it has broken my heart to have had gone through this and know that has probably negatively affected him because he is just my favorite. Like, he knew how to get into my mind. He knew how to direct me. He knew.
Sick.
Yeah.
And by the way, his birthday is October 19th. I'm October 18th. I remember there was one hand where Vince goes all in. Okay. And it's like $2,500.
Oh, wow.
And at this point, we've been playing for 5 hours. This is when Vince was doing the movie with Jennifer Aniston.
Wikipedia here.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, dangerous. Dangerous.
Yeah.
Don't look at mine. I don't want to know.
Okay. Well,
this part was
you're
funny.
Lebanese too. But just letting you know. Well, you're just Lebanese today.
Can you pause it for a sec?
You're a Syrian Lebanese.
So this part was funny because like the entire time in this interview, they keep calling up like Wikipedia articles. And this is the moment where Gina basically just calls them out for being unprepared. Like, they're just like, every time they touch on a topic, they just go to Wikipedia and call up like whatever's there. And
Mike
and so, like,
Holmgren.
You could just tell like the lack of show prep they did for this stuff. It was
So it's like this show.
Gina just flat out called them out on it, like right here, and they just kind of laughed it off. I thought that was funny.
And this is why Gina Carano won't come on here, because I'm horrible at this. So, yeah.
Anyways, but the point is, John was a freaking breath of fresh air to be around, right? Just a chill guy. And by the way, it's important for people to realize, Adam pointed this out a couple of days ago, there's two Jon Favreaus on Twitter.
Yes.
There's a Jon Favreau that's an Obama speechwriter. This is not the same Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
Because that Jon Favreau is super woke, loud, like, it almost confuses you a little bit.
Please find the right Jon Favreau. And also, Jon's, I don't think he's really on Twitter. I think he watches from the background sometimes, but I think, I think his whole thing is like, he loves to just fly right below the radar, so that he can do what he can do. But I believe the man is an emotional genius. I believe he's a genius in storytelling. I mean, I think there's something very special.
That's cool. That's good to hear from because that's the impression I get from him anyways.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of people in Hollywood who reached out to you who agreed with you but couldn't be vocal, and they said, look, you're right, we're with you, we agree with you, but we can't publicly agree because it's going to hurt our career? Did you get a lot of calls like that?
Not initially. I got no calls initially, but I got a lot of support and have gotten more support. I go to these fan expos and people will have me come up to their booths and they're like, we're so with you, sister. We're so with you. And I'm like, I know. And they think, I think there's a lot more people in the middle. And a lot of these actors are just, I know a lot of my co-stars, they hate what happened to me. Bill Burr was just as incredible and awesome. And he was like, if I, he's like, she's a sweetheart. And if I say anything, I'm going to get canceled. And so at the time, 3 years ago, it was a different environment and it was hard for people to speak up. But every single one of my co-stars, including Pedro and Carl, did not believe what happened to me was correct.
Which tweet was it, or what did you say?
See, and that's what pisses me off, is that's where it was on Pedro to speak out. Right? Like, he's the one with the power here. Nobody's going to cancel his ass.
It's none of his business.
It is, though.
It isn't. Nope. It isn't. Like, why? Why would you?
Because it's his fucking co-star.
Doesn't matter.
The same goddamn thing could happen to him.
Yep. And maybe no one will come to him. That's not his job.
Well, he did the exact same thing, and now he's in a fucking court case over it.
Yeah, he did. He posted some stuff that was inappropriate, and he didn't get called on it. But that's his thing.
All right.
No actor is required to go.
I think
help another
the
actor.
final straw was the
Yeah, well, he lost a lot of respect
tweet
from people for that.
And when I had posted it on you remember Twitter used to have or X used to have the fleet section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only that, this is true too. The entire cast of Guardians defended Gunn.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, one, he was in a position of power.
Also, Gunn has the right politics.
Yeah, there's lots of apples and oranges.
That's
here.
what I have a problem here with that. That's the point.
Which is like the Instagram version of the stories. Well, I'd put it up there and I put it in my, and I was just kind of like, and
I actually like the fleet. I don't know why they got rid of it.
I like the fleet too.
I don't know why
Bring
they
back
got
the
rid of
fleet.
it.
And we like
fleet
the
was
fleet.
great.
So this is the
zoom in a little bit, Rob.
Yeah.
The infamous tweet.
The infamous
Jews
tweet.
were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children, because history is edited. Rob, I don't want an ad, Rob. Gina, because history is edited. Most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is this any different from hating someone for their political views?
So if you just read that first part, yeah, that would be a messed up, thing, right? But when you read the whole thing and my interpretation, and what I would like to do is I'd like to put thought pieces out. I'd constantly put thought pieces out so that people would just get their mind working. And so my question was always and I think a lot of people thought this, before 2020, I never understood how a population of people could demonize a group of people and allow them to get, taken from right next door and shipped off to a concentration camp, and ashes are falling from the sky. And there's, I just couldn't understand how that could happen. And I've always been so fascinated with the World War II movies. They're some of my favorite. So in this tweet, I thought, this is something where I feel like if we keep demonizing each other, if there's this demonizing between neighbors, if you keep on doing that towards one another, we're going to end up in a bad place. And that was that's how my mind simply just read it like that. And then I didn't know, I didn't know that you get canceled if you bring up the Holocaust in any way, apparently.
When was this tweet, by the way?
I think it was in September.
Oh, Gina, only if you're on the right. That's it. That's the only time it matters. Otherwise, you can call everybody a Yahtzee. You can compare anything to the Holocaust you want, including going to work.
Indeed. And there's another really important pointer. Do you all notice that when he asked her, have you gotten any support from other actors and stuff like that? She instantly jumped to the fans. The fans and the audience are with her. The only ones name dropped in the industry is Carl Weathers. It's that comedian guy, the co-star. I forgot his name.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
Thank you, Bill Burr. And Jon Favreau. those were the three names that I noticed that she picked up in the industry that I picked on.
Well, Tom,
everyone else, if they do support her, they are too afraid to even contact her to say it, because they're so afraid that some of this stench on her that Disney put there would rub off on them. And later on, because I did see pretty much the whole thing, this is something that I'm sure we'll get into a later clip here, just how damaging the statement that Disney put out was on her. They made her not only person non grata, they made her positively radioactive to the point where others can't even in quiet come to her and express anything, because by doing so they may be cancelled squared by proxy as well.
Indeed.
Well, I liked what Bill Burr did. Bill Burr jumped in immediately.
Yeah, he did. He showed some character and charisma.
Yeah.
And you're right, Paul. Someone like Pedro Pascal is under no obligation to give any kind of support to her. No actor is under any kind of obligation.
He still should.
But it shows character when they do, and it also shows another type of character when they don't.
Well, you know what? I think it's also a brand. So Bill Burr comes into this fight with that brand, and he fulfilled it. So he did not disappoint anybody, which is probably why he wouldn't be canceled, because they go, "Oh, that's Bill Burr."
Exactly. And the same thing with Pedro Pascal. He fulfilled his brand, which is establishment chill.
And I think he hurt his brand a little bit by not jumping in. Now, I will say that one tweet that she did, I didn't find it offensive. The only thing that I find it funny is the wide vector using anything to do with Nazi Germany and things that are happening now. As bad as whatever people might say the Koof situation was, it's not even close. And
this is
I think
true,
her tweet was naive, but I didn't find it offensive.
But I think it's a matter of exactly what time period is one comparing, because as you can see from like later AI developments and stuff like that, there seems to be like certain campaigns aimed at demonizing certain groups. Now, obviously, it's a completely different level between anything we have today and the absolutely full-on, no excuses, no nothing that you had in pre-World War II Germany, and indeed that whole region, right? But still, it is the closest parallel that one can mention to where you basically had the government and the establishment going in with everything, making it okay to demonize a certain group.
Well,
in her defense, what other historical period that people will gravitate towards and know of would you reference to illustrate that you now have government sanctioned discrimination?
Well, I just want to say that I wish people were more educated about Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution, where 2 million people died, and then he later on killed 20 million more. So I just wish, from the purposes of just being able to pick and choose a wretched piece of history, people need to have a better selection.
Yeah. Okay, now here's the thing: is I agree with you. Like, would it have been better to maybe compare it to like the McCarthyism shit back in the day? Probably.
Yeah, that'd be more accurate.
It probably would have been. But at the same time, in her defense, like I just said, you had every other motherfucking one of her co-stars doing the same exact thing. The only difference is that they were calling Trump supporters those things, right? She's calling the fucking government this thing and warning them that this is what the government does. It turns neighbors against neighbors. That's all she's fucking saying.
But I don't think this is what got her into trouble. They used this.
No, and we said this earlier.
It had the Holocaust thing. It
had exactly, Paul. Exactly, Paul. And that was what I was saying earlier, is it had nothing to fucking do with this. This was just something they could hang up on it because they said, oh, sure. Jewish. And as soon as you say that in Hollywood, everybody fucking pays attention. So that's what they fucking did. It was all about the beep, bop, boop. That's what it was about, because you had two fucking people in the office who had their dicks locked off going, I don't feel safe working in the same fucking building as that bitch. Ah! That's what you had.
No, of course. I also agree that using that tweet was just an excuse to get rid of her.
Yeah. Was it a great tweet? No. Could she have done a better version of it with McCarthyism? I agree with you there wholeheartedly. And I agree with you too, Paul. The Holocaust and things of that sort get invoked way too much.
Way too much. Yeah.
Way too fucking much, because there is hardly anything else that we have dealt with in history that's even remotely close to that. There's things you could compare to it, but even then you're still not even close. Right.
Yeah, and that's the problem. People have got to move on to something else, like the purge in Venezuela.
I agree, but problem is in like I do not want to say anything bad about Americans because I like Americans. I'm just going to say that there's a bunch of videos that you can find with Americans not being able to point out a single country on a map, and against that backdrop, and maybe not great level of historical knowledge beyond certain key events. If she goes too deep in more apt historical references, they may get lost in translation. Like a very few are going to catch the reference. That like she's just like in her defense. Like one thing is what is more accurate. The other is who are you trying to reach, and what do you want to be understood?
It would have been funny if she tweeted, well, when the Byzantines conquered the Hebrews in Jerusalem in 647, and where they you know, that would have been funnier if it was like,
I would have loved that. I love my
crazy, accurate historical moment in time where she was deeply invested in the archaeology of it.
I recommend we go to 5201.
Yeah.
A what?
Time code 5201.
Go to 5201.
That's close enough.
Does that feel?
It feels, you know, I feel like I've been in the desert for the last couple of years, and that hasn't felt good. But the part that does feel good is I am honest and I am clear, and my heart is good, and I was coming from a good place, and that was very obvious. And I think that, you know, so many people were watching what happened to me, and they say, this is an innocent person here that you're destroying. You're going above and beyond to destroy this person. And I think that's why my case has had such an impact, because it was so obvious. It was just so in your face. So for the last couple of years, it's been a desert, and it's been hard, but it's okay to go through the desert, because then I got an email after I just realized, okay, maybe my life is going to be living in the desert now. Yeah. And I got an email from an attorney that said that they were representing X and that they'd like to look through my case. And I was like,
what a great phone call from John Favreau to now a lawyer from X going, I think we have something.
Well, they didn't know what I had. Yeah. They said, I want to look at what you have. And there's just been such, you know, my life has been riddled with such incredible moments like that. I mean, incredible director Steven Soderbergh picked me up from fighting and gave me an awesome opportunity. You know, Jon Favreau, incredible human being, amazing mentor, and really started finding my stride in acting. Ben Shapiro helped me out, and he just took the sting off of it, right? Like I didn't take the cancellation away. We tried to really like puff up and say, you know, it's going to be fine. Yeah. It's going to be fine. And it was a door open, but as far as me, I'm still very much in the desert. And then here comes Elon Musk, and I'm just like, who does this happen to? Yeah. I'm just like, there's real men in the world that have opened doors for me that it's just made my life. So for him to do this and X to do this for me is, it already has lifted this 1,000-pound, you know, beast off of my chest, because whether I wanted it or not, I was carrying around the shame of being fired. Nobody wants to be fired. And so I was carrying around, whether I was trying to like put on the brave face, I was carrying around the shame, and it was affecting me physically. It's been affecting me mentally. And then when I got that email, I responded like within 3 hours. And I'm like, I don't care if I seem eager right now. I said, yes. Yes, I would love to speak with you. And then I got on the phone with them, and they told them what happened, told them my story. They said, could you send us some stuff? I just sent them everything that I had. And they ended up speaking with X and Elon and explaining the story. And they really believe that we have an awesome.
So by the way, I mean, this is when you're telling the story, you know, when you're asking a question, do you feel vindicated? Yeah. You know what's the thing? You know, okay, so let's just say you get money. Fine. That's one thing. But you know what's annoying? It's like you have such momentum, you're peaking, and you want to work. Like, what is the purpose of money without me creating something? being part of something. It's so frustrating when you're at your peak and you're not able to create, build. You got stuff that's going on at your best. Like that is so annoying.
When I'm working, and it always puts my dad in tears. It's the only time I see him in tears, is when I'm working. I am at my best because I'm consistent, and diet's consistent, work is consistent, my health, my mental health. And that's also why I was speaking out about the lockdowns too, because you get a bus driver who's been, driving a bus for 30 years and might have an addiction problem, and you're going to shove him at home and stick him with like all this reality of at home. And then he's going to start drinking again. And now we've got alcoholism. Now we've got deaths everywhere. So as an artist, I know what it's like to not work. And we need to work as humans, and it's really hard to kind of create your own work, which is what I'm doing now, finally. But I mean, it was devastating.
That's the part that's for us. I want to read this.
That's a good place to pause. So what's your reaction to that? Anyone?
Let's say from culture. We haven't heard from you in a little while.
I mean, she's amazing and very, very aware of the world. And she's very understanding of what happens when people are put into a kind of an isolation that puts them in a very dark place. I mean, you usually succumb to your demons, when you're put in that type of harsh reality. So I mean, that's amazing. And look, I mean, it's one of the few times you actually let her talk, and finish an entire answer, but setting that aside, she's outlining, the realities that I think a lot of us, would have to deal with, if all we'd ever known is the thing we're doing, and that is taken away from us, then, puts it in a bad place. Human beings are meant to do something every day. We're meant to have purpose. That's basically what she's speaking to.
Matt?
I mean, when she's allowed to talk in this interview and kind of go down these different paths, I think that's where this really shines, because she's given us insights into things that, we on the outside who just kind of like going off of like news articles and rumors and stuff like that. Like this is stuff that we want to hear because it educates us more. And I wish that, she'd been allowed to go down these pathways more during the show, because you can see, like, instead of following up on a lot of this stuff, Patrick Bet David, he keeps trying to think, okay, what's the next question I can ask her? What's the next thing that I can interject to talk about myself? I know there are people in the chat who are fans of Patrick Bet David and his podcast. It's perfectly fine. Like, you're allowed to like that stuff. I personally just find it infuriating every time I tune into this podcast and they got like an interesting guest on, and Patrick Bet David makes it about him instead of the guest. So, but this interview is full of little insights that Gina drops. I just wish we could have gotten more in depth into those insights.
And what I loved about her answer before about how men have opened a lot of doors for her, that really shows that she does have a care and a respect for men in the industry, right? Compared to what they're treated like right now. And I think she said that for that reason, right? And to her, like she's saying, like, I've had mostly good interactions with men. She can't speak for other people, and I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but that's the vibe I got from that, is she's basically saying that I don't know where this is coming from in so many words, right? It's almost like, why are men being attacked right now when they're the ones who have opened all these doors for me, is what I heard out of her right there. So, yeah, especially Jon Favreau of all people. I mean, she's done nothing but praise him. And I know a lot of people have asked, well, why hasn't he said something? Why hasn't he said something? And I can't remember who said it, but they said, he's playing the long game. And I agree with him. So I think it was Paulie in the chat, actually. And so, yeah, and that was in response to, my discussion with Paul about the whole thing. So, like, yeah, this is something that I think has been bubbling behind the scenes. I'm sure she's been in contact with a lot of these people over time. But let's see what else she has to say. Was there any other special points we should go to here, or just keep playing?
I think the interview kind of goes off the rails in the last hour.
Okay, was there anything interesting person?
Was there anything more important though that we should touch on in the interview?
So.
Or
Matt, do you think so? I mean, the second hour was pretty lame.
Yeah, I mean, there was one point where she was kind of getting into, so she established that the Holocaust tweet, like an hour after that went out, was when she got fired. And then she started kind of going into the moves that Disney was taking to basically like besmirch her or defame her, like whatever the case may be. And PBD just kind of like went off in a different direction instead of like following that path and really exploring what Disney did to her. And then like the part where I stopped watching, so like I didn't watch most of the second hour because once they go to Kathleen Kennedy's IMDb and start talking about how amazing she is, I just kind of was like, this guy obviously doesn't know what's up. So I had to stop watching at that
I will
point.
say that's where I was incredibly frustrated too, because we don't have to see it because it's pure cringe, because they go and they talk about how amazing her resume is, all these amazing movies, and not a single one of them is able to raise the point that all of these amazing movies that she's worked on as executive producer just so happen to be directed by either George Lucas or Steven Spielberg, or also be executive produced by Steven Spielberg. Now,
Or
if
her
you were
husband.
to look at on the IMDb at her movies that aren't directed by Spielberg, then you're left with the likes of Jurassic Park 3 and
Milk Money.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, the horrible movie that everyone hated, because once you remove Steven Spielberg from the equation, her output as a producer becomes a bunch of crap. And they're not able to call that
Well, and
out.
it's
That
not
is
just
frustrating.
Steven. Yeah, it's any. Robert Zemeckis was another one she hitched to. Who's
Yeah,
also
I
a
know, but
Steven
again, that's still
protege.
produced by Spielberg.
Again, yeah, they're all produced. Well, not all of them, but she has had some. But that's my point. Is the only ones she has done that were of any success that didn't have Spielberg involvement was that when she hitched on to M. Night Shyamalan, and we know what happened to him. And as you said, the end of that road was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
She produced all his movies up through that, including Sixth Sense.
So
maybe I don't know if she had anything to do with Unbreakable, though. That she may not have, but yeah.
And I do want to go back quickly to when he was talking about everything I've ever heard about her is that she's nice, blah, blah, blah. And people who defend that by saying like, oh, he was obviously joking. He wasn't joking. Like as soon as the people who thought he was joking started laughing, he was like, why are you guys laughing? He was being totally serious. Completely doesn't know the whole history behind Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, what she's done to the fandom, what she's done to, this franchise, all this stuff. He's completely out of it. And this is a guy who basically, like, his unique selling proposition for his podcast is entertainment, politics, business. Those are the three things he covers. And he doesn't know anything about most of those topics.
Yeah, he's got a jocular knowledge of entertainment. It goes only so far as it only goes as deep as I played poker with him. That's the depth of his.
Well, I don't want to concentrate too much more on this guy anyway. It's not about him.
But the thing that
Gina.
the thing that comes across with me with Gina is that she's naive, and there's an awful lot of things that she did out of the quote unquote goodness of her heart that if she had known better to just not do it. I mean, there's no need to have gone to the places where she went. There was no value. I mean, I don't know how many of you have met hundreds of performers like I have. A lot of them are just naive, gentle people like her.
She does kind of admit that later in the interview because again, I agree that the final hour here, it kind of like it goes a little bit all over the place and there's really not anything worthwhile, but she goes and talks a little bit about her relationship with Henry Cavill, which is now in the past. But part of the reason why that ended, she doesn't say it explicitly, but by implication, she's a fighter. She knows the world of fighting. He's an actor coming from the world of Hollywood. They know the world that they grew up in, but they don't really know the real world. None of them are too emotionally mature. They still have a bunch of growing up left to do that people their age outside of their bubbles already have done as part of the issue. So she doesn't explicitly say anything that I said right now, but she does kind of imply it.
So I mean, the two parts here is that there was no difficulty on her part to just stay out of those things and just keep them close to her vest and talk about it with the people that agree with her position.
Well,
but on the other hand,
Paul,
but let me finish. But on the other hand, there was nothing that she said that is cause for firing.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to point out that earlier in the interview, like, she was talking about, like, looking back on it now, it's so obvious, like how she was in the right and what happened to her was unjust. But she keeps calling back to, at the time in 2020, the temperature was so different. And she was having this kind of like weird political awakening where she's like, I just want to express my thoughts and I want to talk about common sense and I want to, kind of like be someone who can inspire others to
Big mistake,
be better.
not her job.
Well, you're correct. You're correct in that it's not her job, but when everyone else can basically go online and all of her co-stars were freely speaking their minds, she was like, well, I might as well just do this as well. But she kind of misread the temperature because she was so oblivious to it up to that point. And she talks about that in the interview where she was like, I didn't understand all the political stuff that was going on at the time, and therefore I became a victim of it. And it was kind of an interesting retrospective on her part.
And I hate to say it, part of it is because she was a woman and she's a bigger target that way. Even amongst a bunch of the harpies at Disney.
I would say especially amongst the harpies at Disney, because here's the thing. When you have a cult that is trying to push up women, strong, independent women, but just like we see from Film Threat's reporting with women in animation, the only ones they really want to elevate are women of a certain kind who are just like them and who will further the message. And any women who won't abide by that party line must be destroyed and kept out of the industry. It's the exact same thing here. Here you have someone that on paper is exactly the kind of person that they want to push, but it's a person that will not support their narrative. And that instantly makes her an enemy. It's the same thing that I know many actors of the minority persuasion, like for instance, our good friend Clifton Duncan, great actor, who also happens to be black and also happens not to go along with the narrative that people wanted to force upon him, and he was punished severely for it, much more than any similar white actor would be, because again, here is someone that goes more counter to the message. Same thing with Gina Carano. She'd be punished more than a man who goes against the message, because it's doubly as damning for the message when it comes from a woman or a person of color.
Well, I mean, the left eat their own when Roland Fryer, who is a brilliant economist at Harvard, produced a study that said that the police aren't biased towards the black population. All hell broke loose.
Yeah, that just happened. Yeah.
And he's a very cool dude with a very interesting background, and you got to toe the line. And I guess there's several strata of towing the line, is that women will stratify with other women, and if one person disagrees with the common thread, then they're out, right? And that's what happened to Gina. I just wish Gina, she's fun, and I love her interviews, and she's so open and such a sweetheart. And she was great in Mandalorian. I just wish she didn't post the things she posted. I wish she understood that she was not at the right pecking level.
Do you really think that
that
would have made a difference, though, Paul?
And
I
Paul,
think that's the thing I'm getting at earlier too. Was it was the beep bop boop? It doesn't fucking matter. She could have posted anything. They were just waiting,
nothing.
looking.
Post nothing.
They would have found something eventually, Paul. That's my point.
Now this is speculation.
No, it is not speculation. Because she flat out said it was because of the beep bop boop.
Right. So don't put beep bop boop.
But can I say one thing, Paul, though, about that point? Because I agree that all actors in general should realize that, as Ricky Gervais very aptly put out, that they generally have less education than Greta Thunberg, and they are in no position to educate anyone about anything. I'm not talking about Gina Carano in particular now. I'm talking about all activists that want to be influencer for one cause or the other. Like, none of them are qualified to have any opinion or anything. It's a general thing. Yeah, of course, you have your odd Dolph Lundgren in there who has like degrees and everything. You have your Mariam Bialix, who also has a number of degrees, but as a general thing, actors don't know anything other than acting. And so many of them still go and lecture others on social media and become activists for certain causes. And not only that, this is something that they are encouraged to do by their agents and by everyone around them. You need to be an activist and you need to get your voice out in something. This is something that is actively encouraged. So in this sense, Carano didn't do anything that no one else did. In fact, she did far less of it.
Oh yeah, she did very.
Difference is
it's not the right kind. That's the difference.
It's of the wrong kind. Exactly.
Well,
but
I'd like to chime in real quick because what the substance of what Paul said was correct, right? If you're an actor or anyone in the public eye and you don't want to piss off people that could cost you work, the smart thing to do is just to, not have a social media presence, right? But in modern Hollywood, there are so many actors who get cast simply because they have a large social media following. Like, for instance, Zendaya. Like, they've actually they actually postponed Dune Part 2 during the actors' strike because Zendaya has something like 36 million followers on Instagram or something ridiculous. And so if she wasn't allowed to promote the film, they'd be missing out on all that social media coverage. And so like actors' social media is an extension of their bankability in Hollywood. And when you have a situation where there's a 1-to-1 ratio here, where you have Pedro Pascal, who publicly comes out and calls all Trump supporters or Republicans or whatever, basically Yahtzees, right? Like essentially, like he vilifies them. And
Did
there's
he post
no
they should be putting wood chippers too, or something like that?
something like his
Well, that was
his Twitter.
Pascal. That was
His
either
Twitter
him or-
is unhinged essentially. Like he just goes off on anyone who disagrees with him politically, but he doesn't have any pushback on that. Whereas Gina, she didn't even go that far. She didn't try to vilify anyone. She was posting think pieces, and then she got fired for that. Same thing happened with Roseanne Barr, James Woods. Like there's so many examples of people actors who use their social media to voice their thoughts, and they get punished, whereas other actors who voice their thoughts, but they just happen to be politically aligned with the bigwigs, they don't face any repercussion. And you're right, Paul, like that's the reality of the situation, but it's also incredibly hypocritical and unfair. And Gina in the interview actually calls that out, where she was like, it was the hypocrisy that got me posting because I couldn't stand the hypocrisy. It was so frustrating. And I think everyone who kind of aligns with Gina feels the same way. It's the sheer hypocrisy of Hollywood that people can't stand right now.
And if I may, what my point is, Paul, is like, I don't disagree with you, right? I think all actors should not be getting political, right? In no way, shape, or form. But what Andre is saying is exactly what it's trying to get at. And that is the point here is it's not about even really so much what was said. It's the fact that it's the goose and the gander thing here that we're looking at. And that's exactly why they're in a fucking lawsuit. And that's why we're having this conversation right now, right? Is that it's okay for Mark Hamill, Pedro Pascal, Pablo Hidalgo, people that she works with to post these kind of things. She can't. And as soon as she did, that's when they fired her. That's what the difference is here. It doesn't fucking even really matter what was said, actually, at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, but that's what Matt is saying. I mean,
and that's what I was getting at to begin with.
Yeah,
and that's my point here.
Yeah, and if you're coming from a certain perspective, you're not allowed to have it. Very early on, I had arguments with and I've mentioned it, with my fellow comedians at the beginning of the Trump era, where I thought your jokes are too easy and you're not actually crafting anything that's interesting. And I had huge arguments. And, to me, it's about the craft, not about just going up there and saying F Trump and getting a huge laugh out of an audience that believes in the same social, things that you believe. Hollywood is broken. Hollywood is broken in the sense, and the James Wood thing is a good example. I'm sure there's half a dozen movies would have done much better with James Woods in it, right? But they want to hire him because they're stupid. Right. And at some point when you're acting, you're not, your politics aren't coming out while you're acting. You're creating a character. So this is the stupidity of Hollywood, which is why I was thinking that if some individual starts a studio and hires all the people that have been tossed from Hollywood, they're going to have more stars and more firepower than anybody that's left in Hollywood.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
That would be the best thing someone could do.
And we are losing Matt, but we're gaining another guest. So I'm going to give Matt real quick a chance to plug the Salty Nerd podcast and all that business. And then
very good podcast.
Bring in our other guest here.
Not as annoying as this other guy.
Thank you for that, Tom. And to everyone out there who loves the Patrick Bet David podcast. No hate towards you. He's not my cup of tea. But if you like him, more power to you. And feel free to check out our podcast. We go live every Tuesday and every Saturday. And you can find us at saltynerdlive.com to see our upcoming stuff or our previous stuff. And I want to thank Tom and Andre for being so gracious to have me back on Midnight's Edge. It's been a while. Always good to see Culture and Paul. And also, big shout out to everyone's favorite not a YouTuber, Mexican IronMan.
Woo!
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you, my great brother. I love you.
Yeah, I'm the only thing I object to you, Matt, is that Vegas beat the Leafs the other night. So fuck you.
Well, one of the few benefits of living in Vegas is our great sports teams. So
I want to shout out your podcast on Saturday. I've been watching it every week since it started, and become a member. I've gotten more swag and more and cool benefits from being a member over there. So come check us out Saturdays at 1 o'clock Eastern. 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yep, it's 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. We go for about 2 hours. We have a lot of fun. Tom is one of our regulars. He's on the thumbnail and everything. So if you like Tom, come check us out over on Saturday.
Wait,
he's a thumbnail.
Wait a minute. I have to start complaining a lot in order to be a regular?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've hit our max for the panel, unfortunately.
No, you can't be on
of course. Yeah, I haven't been on a panel in a while. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll get you on soon, Paul.
It'll be my
anyway, guys.
Thanks,
thank you
Matt.
for putting up. Thank
Bye,
you for
Matt.
putting up with my anti-PBD rants. I'll catch you guys later.
Take care. And entering the arena, ladies and gentlemen, George the Giant Slayer.
How you doing? What's going on, my friends?
Although he's not so giant right now. He's very tiny.
Well, he's small on the screen. Now he's big.
No, I'm saying like he's only taking up half the pace.
Yeah, because I have a 6 foot.
Gotta
one.
show off
Not
the
really.
stuff.
Love the studio.
Yeah, you got to show off the stuff around you.
Hell yeah! What's going on, everybody? Andre, always great to see you. Tom,
We're here celebrating Mikey's
Yeah,
birthday.
likewise.
Talking
Good to
to
see you.
Gina Carano. How you doing?
always love seeing you. And happy birthday to the greatest YouTuber, Mexican IronMan.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. I love you, but you too will be enrolled in re-education this weekend. Not a YouTuber. Thank you.
You're not a YouTuber. Okay.
Nope.
You're the most non-YouTuber I've seen. But no, Gina Carano, that thing was crazy. Yet another reason I'm a YouTuber. Okay. I think that thing was great. I was listening to what y'all were talking about, but I still I disagree with the whole Pedro Pascal thing. I don't know. I'm really weird about that. I think the problem we have in this country is not enough people stand up for people.
I agree.
Nobody has to do anything, right? But the fact is we become so insular, so focused on ourselves that we forgot that we're part of a greater whole, not to sound all fifi. But when you don't stand up for one person, everybody gets steamrolled. And he just lacked character.
Yeah.
And we've seen it before.
Well, we see this all the time. If the three idiots from the Harry Potter movie had instantly stood up and supported
JK
Rowling, then I would say half the trans nonsense that we're dealing with right now would be gone.
Absolutely.
I agree, and that is that I think is something that's going to reflect very poorly on them as time goes by. The woman without whom they would be nothing, and when the wolves were coming for her, they not only stood by and watched, they let them in.
And what was funny was all the actors that played the bad people in the movie were the ones who first rushed to her aid, which was funny. And I understand that Rupert, the redhead guy, is actually flipped.
Rupert Grint.
Rupert Grint has actually flipped. But anyways, I didn't want to talk about that. But yeah, I think there are key moments where we can point that if people of power did do the right thing, then a lot of this nonsense that we're dealing with right now would be
exactly. Paul is
the
right.
hilarity of it.
Sorry, I was going to say is that I don't actually think we need people of power to stand up. We just need people to stand up. It's the amount of people. Like, okay, Pedro Pascal, we know how Hollywood goes. We've seen it, right? Eventually, Pascal will get into some scandal, something, year 2, 5, something is going to happen. But because of his certain politics today, it makes him a little untouchable. But none of them, like even from a selfish perspective, let's say forget the character. They have no character. They're cowards, right? Even from a self-preservation perspective, they should have stood up for her because one day everything changes. We know that. Everybody, life is about change. What is fashionable today in Hollywood will not be fashionable one day. I mean, Hollywood has gone from right to left to wrong to woke. Eventually, the scales are going to change. May not be as drastic as they are in the rest of the country, but he's going to get into trouble. Kathleen Kennedy's going to they're all going to get in trouble. And who's going to be there to stand for them if we teach generation after generation that just mind your own business, take care of yourself, and screw everybody else? No,
yeah, part of the problem with Hollywood is that nobody realizes it, but it's a small town.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a very small town attitude.
Well, and that's why it's covered as company town. And in a lot of the trades, it's referred to as the company town. So
it's too bad what happened to her.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the last thing I'm going to do is blame her.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So look, in one of the great things about what happened is that we got somebody that we could rally around in a big way, who we know is a good person. Gina's a good person. She's easy to rally around. So
so are you, and that's why we're going to say goodbye to you, because you got to go anyways.
Yeah, I got to dip out. I want to say thanks for having me. It was great to see George and Matt, Mr. Kadish. I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Kadish, and so many more people that came in here, like Al Gore and
Al Gore
and that other guy. Al Gore.
Frank.
You know, he film threat. Oh, Frank Gore. Sorry, yeah, Frank Gore.
No,
we're on film threat. Yeah. What else do I have going on? Yeah. So, check out the channel, check out the videos. Things are on fire. Disney's on fire. I've got like 5 Disney stories I could do today. And hopefully George is going to cover the fact that the prince lost in the UK for his security detail. So yay on that.
What?
Harry, the Markles.
I just did a Disney video that's going to drop tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Good for you. Yeah, no, the Markles. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
didn't. I love them.
All right. I'll see you guys later. Lots of love. And Paul?
Yes, sir.
You're wrong. Okay,
I'm often wrong.
Well, on that note, actually, this is the only super chat or whatever we have for Paul specifically, because I know you're leaving us pretty soon too. Professor Haitian says Paul is okay with people posting things okay with the narrative, but not against. That is insulting to freedom of speech. And to be fair, I think afterwards Paul kind of understood where we were coming from, but yeah,
plus Paul's Canadian. They have no idea what
they don't know what freedom of speech is.
Exactly. But Paul came to visit me, and he was correcting me on my own pronouns in my own house.
I had to.
What?
I had to. It's like it was just.
We're kidding, George. You just got
kidding.
We're kidding.
I don't know. I don't put anything past Paul.
Our junta leader is bringing in a hate speech bill, online hate, which I'm writing about that for my appalling news. It's just the dumbest shit in the world. So
it is. You think it's going to pass? I saw that. I cannot believe it.
It's ridiculous. We are letting serious criminals go because there's no room for them in our prison system. So we're going to cavity search some old lady because she misgendered a mass murderer. This is just the stupidity of all this stuff. And I'm not a big fan of larding laws onto laws. At some point, you just get lost in them. They become valueless and worthless. I think the Chinese philosopher had it right. Lao Tse, he said, for every law we enact, we love each other less. And I live by that. To tell you the truth, all kidding aside, you have to be able to consciously understand what the laws would be, even if they didn't exist. Like, don't hurt someone. I mean, there's just things that, morally are correct that you don't really need.
I think
laws
George
for.
Carlin said it best. You need like four rules. Don't kill each other. Don't take each other's shit. Stuff like that. That's about,
and
the
everything
basics.
is interpreted based on that. But once you get to the point where you create a law that is superbly crafted that any smart person is going to be able to get around, because there's no way to put enough words into any kind of law to make it absolutely, unbreakable. Then all we're doing is we're trying to figure out how to break the law. My son the other day was saying, you know what? We have a 140 kilometer speed limit here in Ontario, that you get your car impounded and you get a bunch of cash taken away and 3 points off your license and everything else. And he said, so what the boy racers are doing? They're hitting 200 because it doesn't matter. Once you hit 150, and plus the cops in their brand new souped up Ford SUVs can't catch them anyway. So once you hear the siren, you're better off to just boot it. I'm not recommending it. Don't do drugs. Yes. Don't run away from the cops. I'm just saying. But
if you're going to do it, run away from the cops on drugs.
That's correct. Give them the drugs first. Yeah. So the thing is, the unintended consequences from laws. There's one in Tennessee, I believe, where they wanted to stop drinking and driving. So they said no empty booze bottles in your car. And I can't remember whether it's Tennessee or not. So if you drive through the state, the sides of the road are just covered in smashed bottles because they chucked them after they finished drinking.
Reminds me of? That reminds me of I don't remember which animal, but there was some kind of animal that was available in the United States, some bird or something like that. That was so incredibly rare that if one was discovered on your property, that it had to be preserved, meaning that you basically had to abandon half your property to preserve the natural habitat of this animal on your expense.
So you're going to kill it.
You had to do on your thing. So what happened was that all the farm owners, they got pictures of this animal and they went looking for it with the intent to kill it in case they found something on their land.
Yeah. Friday night dinner.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? A lot of my comedy is based on one principle, is that everything that humanity does always turns to shit.
Pretty good.
Everything good that we try to do eventually always turns to shit. So
I think that's because people take advantage of situations.
Well, there's that, and time and things like that. I mean, not I want to get into it, but when I was fighting for gay rights and we had our first gay pride parade, it was a really wonderful thing. And now it's this giant weird corporate cancer. It's like, everything has a time limit. Everything that's good, you need to stop it. Maybe after 5 years of partying, just stop it. Like, don't do it anymore, because someone's going to take it over and it's going to turn into garbage.
Yeah, indeed. And I think there's one super chat that's not named for you, but I can't imagine it being aimed at anyone else. Bucky Cat says for $5, if Gina had not posted at all, they would have gone after her for not posting the message.
That is, because they did demand acquiescence.
They did.
I remember pronouns.
Many of the people that went after her on Twitter, they demanded that she put a cam and say their slogans in videos and on Twitter.
No, that's true. Well, there's that 90-year-old woman that got fired for volunteering.
Muscular dystrophy.
Multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis. Let's not confuse Jerry Lewis's program. Right. Because she asked, "What are these pronouns after my name?" And okay, you're gone.
Yeah, they didn't even answer the question. She literally didn't know what was going on.
They didn't know what they were.
Yeah, she's just
off with the head.
Just explain it to me.
Yeah, I know. So so you're right. I could be very wrong that when she didn't toe the line and pretend and I totally agree with her in the sense that she had her principles and didn't want to acquiesce to this nonsense. Just doing that would have probably been enough to get her into trouble.
Yeah. Either way, they wanted her gone. They didn't like her politics, so they're going to find a way. And she's not going to go through the struggle sessions because she's a true fighter.
Yep.
So you got to.
She's a sweetheart. You can tell that she's an absolute
Right, but she has
Sweetheart.
character. That's what I love about her. She has character. She has grit. She stands her ground. We need more. It's like she reminds me a lot of James Woods, but nicer, pretty,
taller.
But James Woods. I mean, I don't know if you've ever checked out, if anybody of you ever checked out his Twitter feeds.
He has a very, very base Twitter feed.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he's
a very
doing
funny
that
guy.
right now because Paul's got to go. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
I have to
Paul.
go.
Thanks for joining us today.
Don't you?
Thank you. I'll
Yeah,
stop
'cause-
talking about controversial things.
No,
that
you
can't
can tell
clip
me
out.
anything you want, but it says you had to go in 10, and it's 10.
I do. Got to go. Everyone,
you.
a pleasure. Nice seeing you. Good luck with the rest of the show without me.
Have a great week, Paul.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya. All right. So yeah, where were you? Or shall we do a couple more of these super chats?
Yeah.
I got some mail here, and it's really, really heavy.
Is
I
it
think I
ticking?
know what it is. Is it chicken?
Ticking.
Oh, ticking. No. I think Andre knows what it is too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this should be good.
It comes all the way from, if it comes from Australia, like I think it does. Yes, it comes from Umbrella Entertainment.
We're gonna have a very nice unboxing here.
Yes, indeed. A big one. Well, there's a couple extra movies in here, so I can get free shipping.
Oh.
But here is the piece de resistance.
Oh my.
This thing is huge. Oh my God.
Wow.
That is one collection of one cyberpunk movie right there.
There you go, kids.
Wow, an
Holy
unboxing of something that George doesn't actually own.
crap. Mario Brothers.
I've
A 4K edition.
What is? I've never seen that. What is? That's not. Which
This
one
is Super
it?
Mario Brothers, the movie with Bob Hoskins. You never seen that?
That? No, I saw that, but that's it because it looks much different than the cover looks different than I remember.
Well, of course, it's a brand new cover art to distinguish it from the
Yeah, yeah.
earlier official key.
Oh yeah, it's a hell of a collector set here. I'll even open it up for everybody.
Does anybody know if the new Conan is out? The
new
Conan, the Conan, it was supposed to come out a while
Well, let's
ago.
just hope that I just hope that you already bought it, because if you didn't, you're going to have to get it at very expensive rates at the secondhand market right now. So yeah,
Okay.
it came and it went,
I missed out on it.
and
See,
it's incredible. It's like one of the most amazing.
I think the
4K
single edition versions are still available because they haven't come out yet. They had to delay those.
but that's the 4K, right? The Conan
Yes,
Chronicle.
yes, and it is truly definitive.
Oh my God, it's pricey. Okay, gotcha. Couldn't believe it. Is there any news if there's going to be a new series yet?
Okay, well, you boys
They
are
are
opening that.
working. They're working very hard at it. Like, speaking of Conan, yeah, they are working very, very hard at it. I haven't gotten any updates on it just for the last few months. Like, we know why it didn't happen at Amazon, and that was a shame because the Amazon series would have been great. But Jennifer Salke, the person that got in the female-centric Wheel of Time, she put the kibosh on Conan because of toxic masculinity. I kid you not, that is the reason. And then the showrunners that were developing Conan at Amazon, they instead developed the House of the Dragon for the competition. So that's what they did instead. That's the people that were supposed to do Conan over at Amazon. Then development started at Netflix, and then it was the same showrunner who did Daredevil season 1 and Spartacus from Starz. He was the one.
Oh,
who was,
Stephen Knight.
Yes, Stephen is the Knight. That's one. He was the one who developed it over at Netflix. That was also going to be amazing. Everything was looking great when there was a change behind the scenes at Netflix. So then Ted Biaselli became the Netflix guy. That's the same guy who did Masters of the Universe Revelation, and he instantly wanted to wokeify it. He was basically like, we need to put a chick in this and make her gay, and we need to tone down Conan. He can't be like this macho. No, this won't fly. But we'll do it. But we need to make these changes. To which the rights owner said, "To hell with this. We've all like, yeah, sure, we can do it. We can get the money." And see the brand ruined in the process after the 2011 movie. No, thank you. This has to be right. So then they took the rights back, I know that the then current showrunner, who I do not know who is still attached to it. And they, last I heard, they were in talks with a couple of interested parties, and I do not know where it currently is. But I know that the intention from the producers and the owners of Conan is that this must be done right, or we're not doing it, because the brand can't take another failure.
I agree.
11-1. So that's the status on that.
Well, thank you for that. I didn't know all those. I knew the Jennifer Salke thing. I'm always surprised that she thought it was toxic. I'm like, have you read Conan? Have you watched Conan? He's supposed to be a man's man.
She read the scripts, and the scripts were absolutely amazing.
Wow.
It begins with the Frost Giant's daughter, and anyone who has read the Frost Giant's daughter, they will instantly see, okay, if you have a very activist female greenlighting producer who doesn't like men to begin with, and then she reads a pilot script, and that pilot is based on the Frost Giant's daughter, this is not going to go well, and it didn't. So we would have loved it. The audience would have loved it, but she was beyond horrified and probably need to speak with her therapist after reading it.
Are you shocked that then Reacher was able to get greenlit and then for another season and then for renewed for 3?
Not after WDW Pro's reporting that the difference between Disney and Amazon is that on Disney, their DEI standard is that every single project has to be led by a so-called underrepresented group, meaning it's the minority population that has to be overrepresented, wildly so, and the story also cannot be about any member of the majority population. It has to be about the minority population, everything in every single project, meaning that not one single good thing can come out of Disney unless special dispensation is given, like with Deadpool. Whereas for Amazon, it's like, okay, no, not every project has to be garbage, but we need to hit so and so many woke quotas over the course of the year. But that means that we have room for a couple of projects that don't have to be so woke. That explains how you can have the Reacher, because they have enough other crap that fulfills the quota that they can let that one slide by. Surprise, surprise, it's their biggest hit.
Okay, who wants to read super chats?
I do.
You're gonna. Oh, you was gonna say Mikey should do it since it's his birthday, but if you want to, go ahead, Andre.
House of Tradies for.
Yeah, no, you might do it. Go ahead.
House of Tradies for 20. Wow, oh my God, I'm so big now. House of Tradies for 20. Canadian says, I saw Dune 2. Time flew by. Great movie. Yes, the ending was rushed, and Chani leaving at the end was dumb. Otherwise, I felt today did a good job. Give more death to Chani. Still like Dune. 84 better. Proud to be an Atreides. Well, hail to you, House Atreides. May your house live on forever throughout all millenniums.
I know Andre was going to try and see it. Did you get a chance to yet?
I'm going to.
Actually, I did, yes. And I will say I'm in complete agreement with House Atreides. I think it is a great movie. I think it is a cinematic achievement. It is stunning. It is beautiful. It is an achievement, and it is also filled with modern day toxins. And I'm not going to blame Zendaya, the actor, but I will say that the way that the character Chani was written is a betrayal against everything that Frank Herbert stood for. It is way too much in line with modern day politics, and people are unfortunately giving it a pass because the rest of the movie was just that good. But that ending, I was going to say, but that ending is a complete betrayal against not just the writings of Frank Herbert, but the entire philosophy of everything. I mean, Johnny is smart enough to know, like every other woman ruler in history, that political marriage is a political marriage. It's not a real thing. Concubines is a thing in history. And very, very often you have this filled in European history, that a marriage is something that you do for a political alliance. But then on the side, as long as it's done in relative quiet, then you have the one you really want to be with. And also the whole point with the Dune novels is that You don't see this in the movie, but if you read the Dune novels, basically the whole thing is kind of like a travelogue. Everything is narrated through various bits and pieces, various books and stuff like that. Who's the author of these books? The author of those books on which the whole Dune narrative is presented is Princess Irulan. Why does she have time to write all these books? Well, that's kind of like the joke at the end of the original novel, that that she has no time because she's trapped in a completely, utterly loveless marriage with a husband who doesn't want to be with her, who doesn't give her any kind of time of day, because he spends the time with his concubine, who history will remember as his true wife, namely Chani, whereas in reality, Princess Irulan is just a concubine. And so she is left to writing books because her husband wants nothing to do with her. This is kind of like the whole point. Not the whole point.
Johnny understands that the whole thing is a big FU basically to the Emperor, right? Like that's the whole point. Yeah,
exactly. And the movie dropped the ball on this completely, and it's infuriating because everything else was so tremendously good. But to me, that just makes it all the more toxic, because now you have this thing that people should be as furious about as Luke Skywalker throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder. To me, it is that level.
I am.
Well, I don't understand because I haven't seen it. I'm seeing it tomorrow night because I've read the books several times.
Well, then you know you're probably gonna like just remember them,
because I love David Lynch's. I like his interpretation,
to me that is still the Spice Diver cut as much. The Spice Diver cut remains after
yes.
The Spice Diver cut remains my go-to. Now, to be clear, the Lynch movie that also did a great betrayal towards the end when it rains on the planet Arrakis, because that just kind of like kills dead the entirety of the rest of the franchise. Plus, in that movie, Paul, he really is the Kwisatz Haderach, the Messiah, and you can argue that in many ways is a greater betrayal than what was done right here. And can they fix this in Messiah? Is there a way that they can move on from this? Oh, absolutely, there is. There absolutely is. We'll see what they do with it. But
I don't know.
But do you think, Andre? I don't mean to interrupt, but do you think that the two questions? Dune, the first.
2 quick questions because we got 20.
Okay, 2 quick questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you compare Villeneuve's Dune 2 to the first one? Half as good, nearly as good, better?
Okay, I would say that by any, it's difficult because it's apples to oranges.
Okay, no worries.
The David Lynch movie is able to do much more in a shorter amount of time, whereas the Villeneuve movie is a more visceral experience. But the Villeneuve movie couldn't have been that visceral experience without the David Lynch movie, because it lifts so much from it. I mean, the still suits, much of the visuals, all of this is lifted straight from the Lynch movie. So it's apples to oranges. I mean, it's kind of like the music.
Sorry, I meant the first. I meant the first Villeneuve Dune, part 1 versus part 2, which is better.
Same thing, exact same thing.
Okay.
David Lynch was able to do more in a shorter amount of time.
Okay.
Villeneuve was able to make it a more visceral experience.
Gotcha.
But he couldn't have done it without Lynch
Okay.
doing that, what he did first.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pilgrim Media for $2 says, I'm seeing Dune in IMAX tomorrow. Woohoo!
Me
Thank
too.
you so much. Le
Cimmerian.
Okay.
The French Conan, basically.
Conan.
Oh, got it. For $5, I wish we had a true Cthulhu universe. For example, from Beyond as a show, Lovecraft Country doesn't count. Oh,
it's actually funny. We actually have the beginnings of that. the remake of Tom, what's that Tom, what's that 1995 movie from Full Moon? Help me out with the title. It's based on Lovecraft. That the monster in the house thing.
Oh,
which one?
I'm drawing a blank, and I know what you're talking.
What's the movie about? I can.
It's a Lovecraft adaptation, like the thing in the house or something. Anyway, a remake of that movie came out a couple of years back. It flopped tremendously, so it'll get no sequel or anything like that ever. But that actually was meant to be the beginnings of a shared Cthulhu universe, because
From Beyond?
Yes, no, not From Beyond.
Yeah.
Because Castle Freak, the remake of
Castle Freak. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
The remake of Castle Freak was meant to be the beginning of a Cthulhu universe, because towards the end, Herbert West Reanimator shows up. So it also happened. And yes, Savage Sword today, I'm going to review it. It is fantastic. It is glorious. So I'll get into that before as soon as I have the opportunity. But I don't have that right now because we have more super chats coming. But I think I'll talk about it on Friday. It's glorious.
DB Martin for $10. Happy birthday, Mikey. Thank you, David. Thanks for getting me rinsed on 20 channels, therefore quadrupling my workload. Hail Alf. Mexican. Okay, you know what? Number one, congratulations on quadrupling your workload. I have big plans for you. There are another 30 channels I'm going to get you on. And yeah, the work has just begun, my good friend. A tipping bar for $5 US says, happy birthday, Michael J. Ironman. Woohoo! May all your tax forms be corrected, your tacos be bueno, and the pH levels of your lawn be perfecto. You know, speaking of which, I need to water the front lawn. Yeah.
You got the hat?
If I may add to that, let the rabbit chickens roam free and multiply.
Yes. I'm hoping that they're banging right now this winter season, because there's some grilling to be done this summer. Jay comes in for $5 US. Schwarzenegger. No, you do this, or Tom? I can't do it.
Tom, do that one. I can't do it. Like I can't.
Dog it down. He's not a YouTuber. He's not a YouTuber. But he really is a YouTuber. He's one of the greatest YouTubers in the world.
No, wait, stop that. No, you're not. No, you're straight.
Happy birthday to Mexican IronMan, because he's a real uber mensch, right? He's a real strong guy. Like, he gets the ladies and they love him. So yeah.
Thanks, Arnold, and thank you, Jay. Rambam 3000 for $2. Is that British pound sterling?
Pounds.
Yes, that's British pound sterling.
Happy birthday, Mexican Ironman. Why, thank you, Rambam. We got Bad News Badger for $20.
That's 20 Danish krona.
Danish krona. Happy birthday, Mexican Ironman, most famous closet expert.
You're coming out of the closet someday soon, I hope.
That's just so weird. No. Chris Williams for $5 says, we get it. You don't like PBD. Play the damn clip. Well, we did. Hope you enjoyed it, Chris. Go check out the whole thing. George the Giant Slayer for $20 says, happy birthday to the greatest non-YouTuber, you Mexican Ironman. May all your wishes come true, my brother. All hail Midnight Sedge, the amazing panel, and awesome chat. That was from an hour ago, I think.
Yeah.
Look. I should have made you read it, George. And we've got Kay and Kareen for $5 says, not true. Patrick Bet-David does let his guests talk. This guy is a hater. It's a podcast, long form talking. I disagree with his entire commentary. Well, I know that Matt read that, so
yeah,
he didn't miss it.
Yeah, so we didn't get to say it when he was here, but we know he saw it. So message was received, Kareen.
Angela Richter, my girl Angela. What's up, Angela? She gifted us 5 Midnight Sage memberships. We just had a live member stream on Sunday. Unfortunately, I missed it because of the timing, but we will be having another one next month. So make sure you, if you get one of these gifted memberships, or if you convert or not, make sure you join on those monthly membership streams. The intense convos between Andre, Tom, and all of the members is pretty intense. Now I'm going to make George read this one. Go ahead, George.
Pedro Pascal was a coward. Characters defined by what you do, built brick by brick on actions, not false smiles. Pascal and anyone else not standing up for what was right for Gina is the problem today in the country. That's Georgia Giant Slayer for $20.
Do you agree with Mr. Slayer guy?
Me? I absolutely agree with him. What insight he has. I mean, come on.
Tommy Reviews for $5 says, if John and the entire cast spoke up, then her firing probably could have been avoided in theory. What would they have done? Fire the entire cast?
That's where I was getting at it too. Is like somebody had to have said something, and I mean,
they wouldn't have fired the entire
nothing is
cast.
going to change. Yeah, exactly. Nothing is going to change until the other actors and people that are unfireable start speaking up, and that's how James Gunn got reinstated. Is because all the cast was up in arms, and you had people like Bautista saying, like, I'm fucking out. Like, if you guys don't bring him back, I'm done. So then when you got people like that in the cast saying that shit, and even Bautista's not like that big.
No.
Right? So like, I mean, physically he is, but
Yeah,
I mean,
you're talking about power, star power. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm not saying they went off just because he said that, but I guarantee you behind the scenes, like Zoe Saldana and all the other ones are saying kind of the similar shit. And I mean, yeah, Disney probably could have waived their contracts in their face all they wanted, but that's 5 or 6 very pissed off people you got to deal with for 6 months.
Right.
Who are fucking divas already and get their way.
Tom,
so guess what? They're going to make your life a living hell.
But it's the same thing that I've asked for years, and I've never really kind of understood, is when Mark Hamill, after Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I thought he could have actually changed it if he stood up. Like, I know he had a contract, but without him.
Yeah, he made that contract beforehand. He should have been able
Right.
to. If he was smart, if George was smart, they should have put it in their contract that he had some kind of veto power over the character. Yeah.
Right. But if he didn't agree with it, what's the worst they can do? Sue him? I mean, yeah, sue
Well, if
him.
we learned anything, George is lame and dumb when it comes to human resources, making decisions about personnel, let alone handling them. And he's the biggest problem why we're stuck with KK's contract. So, yeah, if only George was smart. Come on, George could have. Don't even get me started on the whole George Lucas as a god thing. Bad News Badger for 100 Danish krona. First, they came for and no one helped because they were teet. Then they came for teet, and no one helped because they were teet. In the end, they came for me, and there was no one left who was able to help.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, great quote. Michael Watson for $20 US. Elon is playing 4D chess. Him doing this is going to drop Disney stock to the point it will be cheap to buy. Yeah. And the cheaper it goes, the more I got a dollar cost of average myself back.
Is the Gina Carano case really going to affect their stock that much, though? I don't think that part of it.
I don't think so, but
I think this is more of rubbing
public relations battle.
Yeah,
we didn't discuss or play this part of the clip, but there was a clip in that video somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I was looking for it for the show just now, but it's in there where he says, well, what do you think is going to happen in terms of trajectory and the dollar value? And she says, well. And then he makes a comment like, who's going to see who's really to blame? Was it Iger or was it Kennedy? And she says, well, that's why we're going to Discovery. And she said it's all about Discovery. So when you watch that video, she makes a point of mentioning that it's all about Discovery. So I agree with Michael Watson.
Our instincts are right on that, basically, it sounds like, yeah.
Exactly. For $10, Kalechi Oki says, Kalechi Oki? Yeah. Curious, has she quit acting altogether? If not, why doesn't she go find work at Warner Brothers, Universal, or somewhere else? Are they in this too? That they won't hire her or are too afraid to hire her?
That's basically
right
what
there.
the court case is about. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
that's
Go ahead.
the heart of this very court case, and that is a clip that we didn't find, but it is also in there because basically what she says is that she had all kinds of interest before. She was getting invited to all of these events. She was getting scripts. She was.
Of course she was. She was in Deadpool, and she's in the biggest Star Wars show since.
Indeed,
ever.
exactly. She's the biggest selling Star Wars toy, and then Disney dropped this career-ending statement where they basically said that she's a bigot, and she's horrid, and she has horrible beliefs. And when they said that, that's basically the most powerful studio in town telling everyone no one worked with this person. That's what they did. And the moment that public statement was put out, everything that she had, all the offers she had were gone instantly, overnight, all gone. no more
She got
parties,
fired from
no
her
more
agency and
screeners, no more
everything. Yeah.
nothing. So Warner Brothers, Universal, no one wants to touch her, and they still don't. The only one who will hire her
Daily.
remains the Daily Wire.
Yep.
That's the whole point of this lawsuit.
Rod Thunderheart for 28, been a member for 20 months, says, Hail Midnight's Edge of the Morning. First, Feliz Cumpleaños and mi hermano Mike. Hail, brother Rod, my longtime brother. I can't thank you enough for reading and then plugging See Through Love. Well, I've actually read it twice, brother. I wouldn't have gotten the traction behind without you, hermano. Good Lord. Lord, Gina is such a sweet girl. She is a really sweet girl. And hail Rod Thunderheart. But if you haven't bought his book, check it out. It is, look, when you order it and it comes in the mail, it's going to look really thick, but it's a fast read. In fact, I read it all in 2 nights before I went to bed, and it's a great book. I've read it twice. Action Com comes in for $5. It says, Happy birthday, Mexican Iron Man. Raise a glass of mezcal to a great YouTuber. Well, what's an YouTuber?
It describes somebody.
Thank you, Action Com, and thanks for all your work that you do to timestamp all these shows. Chaos Sonic 1 for $5 says, I agree. George and Pedro, along with these jerks, are going to get what they deserve eventually. Karma does like to take her sweet time and hit hard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's why what George was talking about, that people got to stand up for something. If you stand up for something, don't stand up for anything, you'll fall for anything. And eventually something will come for you potentially. Rambam 3000 for $10 10 British pounds sterling says everyone should read Martin Niemeyer's Little Dictum, which essentially details the dangers of not standing up for others, even your enemies, because then no one will be able to stand up for you. George, do you know that book?
Yes, it's powerful. I know the dictum that he's talking about, but it's basically going back to the thing is if you don't stand up for anyone, then exactly as it says, no one will be there for you. That's why Pedro Pascal, Favreau, Kennedy, all of them, even Kennedy, the actions that she takes one day, it's gonna have a boomerang effect. There's not gonna be someone there for her when she requires it. It's just the way that it's the world that they've designed.
Yeah. It's going to take a lot for it to come for her, though, because she's kind of like the ones on top of it. But moving on.
Yeah.
Aaron for $5 says, mankind had 10 simple laws. We decided it wasn't complicated enough.
Hammurabi's Code. Is that what he's talking about, Hammurabi's Code?
I think he may be talking about the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Or the 10 Commandments? Because I always thought first the Hammurabi and then the 10. Okay.
Yeah. Unbelievably, the 10 Commandments did not have any DEI or ESG in them.
No.
It's funny that.
Go figure. Pilgrim Media for $2 says, I thought I knew everything. Now I'm smart. Thanks.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Did any of y'all see History of the World Part 2? The one with Mel, when he comes out as Moses with it. I have 20. And he breaks them. 10 commandments. And y'all didn't get that one.
Maybe the DEI.
Oh, you said 2. I was like, I don't know. I didn't watch Part 2. I watched the first one. That's in the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the
first. They had that second one on fucking Hulu that nobody.
I never
watched.
saw it. It finally came out. Wow.
Yeah, Script Doctor said it was about the equivalent of Drunk History, basically, but only worse.
Hey.
Chris K for $5 says, Andre, any chance for an in-depth breakdown of Lovecraft's influence on Robert E. Howard?
Yes, there's a chance.
Oh.
I don't know exactly what video that would be and where I could put it in. I don't think I'm gonna do like here's the Lovecraft and how, well, maybe I could do, I don't know. But anyway, it's not on the top list of priorities, but there's a chance. Yeah.
Like one in a million.
To do. Yeah.
Andre, I'll let you read this one.
Venmaru the Fool asks, Andre, what is best in life? Well, you know what my usual...
To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you and hear the lamentation of the women.
Exactly. But today, the best thing in life, and this also goes for you, George. Today, the best thing you can do is to go to your local retailer and pick up the brand new copy of the Savage Sword of Conan. And if you don't have a local retailer that supports it, or that has it, then head on over to the Titan website and find it from there. The Savage Sword of Conan, because they've been firing on all cylinders with their new Conan book. I'm a little bit behind on reviews there, But go check out Savage Sword of Conan. Go support it. We keep talking about independent comics and stuff like that. Well, you know what? Conan from Titan practically is an independent comic. It is not at all adherent to any of these rules that modern day Marvel and DC follow by. Jim Zub goes all in on writing this stuff. He writes it as if he was Roy Thomas or Chuck Dixon writing this in the 70s and 80s. And it's balls to the walls. It is good. It is clever. It is Conan as it should be. So go support it. That is best in life today.
Awesome.
And with that, we
Buy
are
my
done.
book.
George, you want to promote what you've been doing on Sundays a little bit?
Well, every Sunday we've started to stream from 2 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. UK time, Slayer Nation Live. We've had these wonderful gentlemen on, Tom and Andre. We've had a lot of people from Chris Gore to WDW Pro, and we're diving into pop culture and Hollywood and trying to do a little, just kind of like peel back the layers of what's going on today. I'm still getting used to it, but it's been a lot of fun. And I have so many great friends who keep coming on. I hope you can join us this Sunday. We have some surprise guests for you that we have lined up, and hope to see you there. Thank you. And I have a video coming out tomorrow.
Woohoo!
On Disney. And woke.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to say before we head out?
I just want to say happy birthday, Mike. I love you. You are pretty much one of my best friends in the whole wide world. You're a huge part of Midnight's Edge and this community, and it's a better place for having you in it. That's just one thing I really, really wanted to say. And,
Are you going to sing?
I love you.
Aren't you going to sing?
He already did. You missed it.
Bat Tom showed up the other day, but yeah. So
Oh.
this is my sincere. I love you. Happy birthday for
Love
him.
you too, Tom. Love you too, Andre. Love you, George. Love everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for everybody for popping in today. Thank everybody for being in the chat. I know a lot of you didn't send super chats, but I saw a ton of people wish me a happy birthday. Just thank you to all of you, super chats and not super chats. Being on YouTube can be a tough place when you're not a YouTuber like me. And what makes it incredibly joyful is all the relationships I've built with everybody over these years. It's made me healthier. It's made me happier. And in some small way, I hope I too can add something to the conversation, even though I'm not a YouTuber. Andre, you want to with that us?
Yes, I also want to just echo what Tom said. Mike, thank you so much for being here, for everything you do. And happy birthday once again, mi hermano. And of course, kudos to Paulie for helping you to get fit. Because my God, man, you look amazing. You look awesome. And you've done such an amazing job getting fit. Keep at it. You're an inspiration to us all. And with
Thanks,
that,
brother. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Exactly. And with that, let the rabbit chickens run free and let the hamsters roam and bring out the koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given,